guys, welcome to Coffee Break. My name is Merrick TV. We're going to be hosting this every single week, and again, it's supposed to be a general MMO podcast, but there has been so much going on in the realm of Guild Wars 2. That's basically all we're doing. We have been playing so many different games over the course of the last several months, but Guild Wars 2, End of Dragons, all the new elite specs, all the awesome stuff that has been added to this fantastic game has brought us back, and we cannot seem to pry ourselves away. So it's very exciting. I'm glad you guys are here. For those of you guys watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching. If you like this kind of content, smash that like button, follow, subscribe, ring the bell, chat down below. Let us know what your view is on how Mechanist should never be nerfed and how it's amazing. Just go ahead and comment that down below. Anyone who's watching this, I will know. I will just comment and be like, Merrick was right. I'm so glad that this build exists. It should never be nerfed. I want to thank all of our Ko-Fi subscribers that bring this to you every week. We are so grateful to you guys. Null Point Origin and Maddox. Oh my God. Tier 6 what do you call them? Maricorn Extraordinaires. Never thought we'd have two. You guys are absolutely incredible. Plays NG Badly, love you, dude. Pink Attitude, our newest, Dalindra, Zhang, and of course a special thanks to Andy Sean. You guys are all amazing. We love you very much. Let's go into the podcast. All right, guys. My name is Merrick TV, of course. Down below me is Cryptic Villain, my DPS compadre in the realm of Guild Wars 2. In the upper right, the Dr. Virus, another Guild Wars 2 streamer and raider. Awesome green dude that is only lit on the right side because that's the only side he needs. And Judy Vision in the bottom right, my beautiful wife that I met in Guild Wars 2. Also streams a little bit of Guild Wars 2, a little bit more soon. I think she's going for cod swimming amongst mere minnows. So you'll see a lot of fishing in her streams. Amongst the mere minnows, I said that earlier today. Somebody was like that said it was walking, and I said, if you have a cod walking amongst mere minnows, something has gone terribly awry. And we, of course, have our beautiful white fuzzy cat in the cube to Junie's left. He will hopefully make a cameo at some point. Anyway, welcome to the discussion. It's going to be a heavily debated topic tonight, at least on one particular build. We're going to be going over the Guild Wars 2 elite specs, the new ones that were added, how that's sort of changed the shape of end game PvE composition, what raids look like today, what each build is, how it's performing, how it plays, what it takes to get it right, and of course the future of Guild Wars 2 end game comps, because everything is changing. Not just because of the new elite specs that were added, of course that turned everything upside down, but we have some fundamental changes to the way that raid boon organization is going forward, right? We basically have everything moving from 10-man to 5-man. We have different classes than ever before being able to bring the essential boons. I want to talk about that, by the way. ArenaNet called them essential boons. It was very interesting. And then, of course, the deletion or the change, alteration to class-specific buffs, not boons. Things like banners, things like spirits, things like spotter. These are being reworked as well, and it's going to change the landscape of raiding. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Cryptic's going to start us off with the topic of why Mechanist is the best class and that everyone should play it. Right, Cryptic?
No, we should start off with banning Mechanist. We should just remove Mechanist from the game entirely.
Banning Mechanist? Oh no. Junie, do we want to start with that, or do you want to get to that one later?
I mean, we can. Maybe we should start with the topic of 5-man boons, because I feel like that actually leads in the Mechanist really well.
I agree.
So obviously, I mean, you just said it, Arena. You just said it yourself. ArenaNet said that boons are essential boons. So we're not going to see boons go away. I know not a lot of us. I think some of us maybe not hoped for, but knew that an avenue to solving one of the crucial issues in Guild Wars 2 right now, one of the things that plagues, I say plagues, and I don't mean it in like it's destroying the game. I mean it as it is something that has kind of been a shackle on building comps since boons were discovered to be so powerful, and buffs. Yes. And we saw one of the avenues, one of the potential outs for ArenaNet is literally just removing them. And I don't even mean removing them from the game entirely, but not having them be such an emphasis on needing to be 100% uptime for all of these boons, right? Not needing alacrity, not needing, quickness, to have a game where they're not, where your entire raid comp is basically bound to needing these things.
Yep.
And that's not going to happen.
Nope.
They called them essential. It's not going
What's
to
up,
happen.
Argus?
And I'm not saying that was a bad decision. It was just one avenue, and that door is shut now. So now
The
we have to
way
talk
is
about.
shut. It was
Yes.
made by those who are dead,
You
and the
shall
dead
not
keep
pass.
it. Wait, you're skipping around.
No. Do not pass go. Go directly to jail.
Go to jail. Go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
So what we have to talk about now is what's going to happen with the direction Arena is going with 5-man boons, and these boons being essential going forward. You're never going to see a comp without these. We've never seen one in the past since the first time we started raiding back in when Heart of Thorns dropped. Once people started understanding boons, they've always been a thing. And
I don't know if I gave any boons back then. By the way,
yeah, no,
I was a tank chrono.
After the initial rush into the raid, and we spent months on that. After that, we have to see now with what's going to happen with 5-man boons, what's going to happen with banners, what's going to happen with buffs, and where do you guys want to see those things headed?
Personally, I don't mind them getting rid of like banners and spirits. Everybody's talking about, is warrior going to be dead or is druid going to be dead? But they also talked about like the spirits pulsing, essential boons. So that I think the spirits pulsing boons will kind of keep those classes alive in a way. If you need a druid and it pulses quickness for, say, you might take a quickness druid or something of the sort. So I don't really mind them getting rid of the class specific buffs or anything like that. I think having more classes that can do different buffs or different essential buffs, as ArenaNet called it, is great. But that's my take on it. I know me and Merritt go back and forth with this all the time about buffs, boons and buffs in general.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is variety, and we don't really know that we're talking about that, but that's essentially what I think this boils down to. What we have in the way of class-specific boons, or buffs, just so you guys know, that's what we're talking about. Like, Guild Wars 2 is kind of unique in the way that boons work, that it kind of draws from an entire pool of things, right? I got a skill that's called Advance, you got a skill that's called whatever, and activating them is called something different, but they're contributing the same boons. This is actually kind of unique, right? In other MMOs, it's not necessarily that way. Power Word Fortitude does not have an equivalent on some other class in World of Warcraft. They're all class-specific buffs. In Guild Wars 2, we draw from a similar pool of boons, and that streamlines things, but it also makes it a little complicated, especially when there are still class-specific buffs in the game. I think you brought up the fact that they're kind of a plague, that boons in general are a plague. I 100% believe that that's true. I think that the Guild Wars 2 combat system, the raid system, everything about the end game or PvE in Guild Wars 2 is amazing, but it has an absolute stranglehold on it by boons. Boons are so essential. It was funny to hear ArenaNet call them that, right? Like it was like some awareness, right? Like back in the day, they never ever would have dreamed that their quickness and alacrity would be like 24/7, right? And that it would be it would be so essential that it would be unacceptable to not have them, right? Like we know we need them. So when that's true, when that is the culture, it has shifted to the point where we need all these boons all the time, and it's absolutely mandatory. At that point, when you add 9 new elite specs, which we just did, and we've got this enormous variety of builds, right? 36 effective builds or something if you count core classes, which of course we don't, but still the amount of classes that we have to choose from is extreme. So now you've got this that can bring might, this that can heal, this that can bring quickness, this that can bring alacrity, and you've got this huge variety, which I think is what ArenaNet is going for. Especially with the 10-man split down to 5-man thing, right? Essentially, they're saying you need 2 of these. So And here's 18 different options for you to be able to bring any of them. So mix it up a bit. But what stops the mix from being able to be possible is class-specific buffs. It doesn't matter if some other class can bring quickness or alacrity. You can interchange something with healing and might. It doesn't matter. If it doesn't bring that class-specific buff, there is no replacing spirits. There's no replacing banners. There's no replacing spotter. Right? These become essential in their own right, forcing these classes into the meta composition and not allowing for the variety that I think ArenaNet is gunning for. I think that's what they're actually trying to do.
I mean, do you think that variety is actually going to happen when we get down to Not having, like, let's say they take Virus's approach in spirits and banners, which is probably what's going to happen.
Yep.
Pulses, quickness, and alacrity or whatever. That takes the essentialness out of having a druid or a banner slave or whatever the case may be. But if they're strong, they're still going to be essential, right? If they're not strong, then nobody's going to bring a druid anymore.
Well, maybe, right? I would say that my response to that is that it's already sort of impressive how the community has tackled this. I was shocked. I didn't think that people would be willing to let go of banners or spotter or spirits until they were pried from their cold, dead hands. But this is like a future patch, right? This is like somewhere down the road, and people have already dropped Druid. They've dropped banners. Go out and pug in the world right now. What group do you find that's got banners and spotter in it? Like, imagine getting crit cap these days with these crit classes. It's almost impossible to assume that that's going to happen. So the community itself is ready to do it. And like Virus says, we go back and forth on some things. One of the things we disagreed about the other day was the inclusion of like a heal brand. Right? Like, so a heal brand, for example, can provide healing and quickness. And there's going to be some people that go, why are you bringing a heal brand? Play a quickness firebrand and then do a heal mechanist. And if you want to optimize, that's arguably a good choice to make. But does that mean that firebrand is going to get a spot in the group? And chances are he will. He did that day. That's what we were sort of actively complaining about, right? So it allows access to it. The way that the meta mentality was in the greater raid scene was that no group could go forward if it didn't have banners and druid, right? That's changed already. And I think that that's sort of reflecting some of the changes that they're going for.
Well, so my question is, like, how far do we like go to strip down class specific buffs? Like, do we just don't care about AP anymore? Do we not care about like pinpoint distribution anymore?
Oh, PPD! It's been forever, man.
Well, yeah, but
I remember the days of PPD.
We would still like, and a lot of organized groups will still like really kind of pick what classes go where and all that.
Every warrior needs to bring in power allies.
Yeah, empower allies, dude. It's still in the buffs for Snowcrow's benchmarking, which is just comical, right? Because it's been probably 3 years.
Not to spend time talking about this because it's kind of a side thing, but I actually expect Snowcrows to actually make a change with that now. When banners and buffs, like Druid spirits get changed, this is the perfect opportunity for them to reset it and get rid of things that nobody, to just do a base level boons only, alacrity, quickness, that kind of basic essential boons only rotation.
And you think at that point they'll finally remove EA, even though EA is still there and not being changed?
Because you won't be able to compare it against, because banners won't exist, right? So you already cannot compare it against previous benchmarks. I mean, that's the reason for keeping it, right? Is to use it to compare against how things used to be.
That's fair.
And it won't be the case anymore. So you'll have to. It's already going to change, so they might as well just overhaul it entirely and say, I agree. From here on out, this is what it's going to be. And sure, you won't be able to compare these builds against previous builds, but the game's moving forward.
Yeah, the whole scene has changed.
Yeah.
I want to say hi to Jenny and Roka. What's up, guys?
Also, Roka makes a good point in chat that instead of having like the typical tank, healer, DPS, we do have these kind of unique roles that Guild Wars has created.
Hybridization, yeah. Let's see. Roka says. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Roka was talking about how that actually makes it harder for people to get into raids. I mean, I agree. You're basically putting. When we talk about how like when we're doing training raids and stuff, a lot of the time we're able to accomplish things that we may not be able to accomplish otherwise because we are able to stretch the limits of what the group is able to do by pushing more responsibility on certain individuals. And that responsibility is now going to be inherently spread across the raid group in general by the fact that we have 5-man boons now, the fact that, as Roka was saying, that people need to invest more into hybrid damage, so boon giver, support builds.
Honestly, a whole variety. Like, you need to be able to shift your build on the fly. Like, that's what's expected these days.
Yeah, and that's going to put, more pressure and more skill involved in the group as a whole. And that's going to make it harder for people to get in raids. People are going to, instead of people saying, I just want to see your benchmark, which, is something we've always been able to flaunt.
And it's more easily quantifiable, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now people are going to want to say, okay, how many classes can you flex? There's going to be other things added onto it that are going to make it harder for you to not just get into raids in general, but to get into, more mature groups that are doing, more serious content, not just CMs, but like Wing 5 and Wing 7, things that newer raiders never really get to see.
I love Roka's point here. It's absolutely huge, right? Like we talk about this so much on the stream and in the community, like the barrier to entry for raids, right? There's all these different reasons for it. Sometimes it's gatekeeping by elite players. Sometimes it's and we talk about that. Sometimes it's the giant divide between what's expected of you in 99% of the game and then what's expected of you in raids, right? The difficulty, the skill ceiling, the individual responsibility that you have to play your character at a certain level goes up exponentially. It's huge. It can be a big shock trying to find a group that allows you to go in for training. There's all these barrier to entries, but what I've always said is the hardest thing for anyone to get, right? And we see this in NA all the time, is the understanding of what Roka's talking about there. And that comes in most in raid leading. You see it in NA constantly, right? EU and NA have different problems. One of the issues in NA is that everyone wants to raid. There's a lot more people that always want to raid than you see in LFG, and that's because no one wants to lead. Leading raids in this game is very complicated for the exact reason that Roka just mentioned there. The full understanding of what class offers what it's capable of offering, right? So you even to know what to ask the player to bring, even know what to put in LFG, what you guys are looking for in the first place, and then the split between the subgroups and how boons work and what class is providing what. Like even the most veteran of raiders and leaders make mistakes in this realm. It's complicated, way more complicated than in any MMO I've ever raided in, right? And now I agree. I think like the unique role system and the way that it works sort of as like an antithesis to the Holy Trinity is a lot for people to grasp onto. I recently found a raider that I was trying to help, and they hadn't come across Snow Crows, and they were very confused. And I was like, well, okay, this is the raiding site. Go there. And you bring up that benchmark page. You bring all these various things up, and even then, it is not clear what every class can play. Well, like the benchmark page is all DPS, right? And then it'll show some hybrids. And so that leaves out the supports and what should be brought, what needs to be brought. There's a big question mark there for a lot of people. So
yeah, I think a lot of that, and this isn't a shot at Snow Crows or any site really, but I think a lot of the websites should kind of organize a little bit better, because I see a lot of people new players coming into raids, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm Selly, like hybrid this, and you're like, oh, but our tank only, our tank's running like 1300 tough. It's really weird seeing like some people trying to come in and they mean well, like they're trying to help, they want to get into the raid scene, but they don't have a full understanding of like, okay, I need to have 0 toughness, because that's how tanking works in this game.
Whew.
And
on some fights and not others, you can actually raid for a while before that build even gets you in trouble, right? Before you even know. So wait, what do you mean, my Selly? I've raided on this, that, and the other thing. It was fine,
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people should or a lot of these sites should kind of take that in mind, that most of the websites being used are for people that are trying to get into it, and maybe we should come together and try to organize it or figure out how we can communicate, like different things like that.
No, I agree.
As far as builds go.
Yeah, I'm training people to know just like beyond what their own little build is, right? That's what we're talking about. Like you find a build, a lot of people go into raids and they're like, I want to play Power Reaper, and like you find your way into raids that way, and it'll work for a while, but the expectation that you'll understand what everyone else is doing around you, that gets a little bit more complicated. Also, Roka said I'd add that, it's funny, dude, I was just talking about this last night. Roka says I'd add that not being able to see what build someone runs makes it extra difficult for commanders to keep track of who plays what. Not just who plays what, but to identify problems, right? Like Virus is saying, if someone's got a ton of toughness, sometimes that's tough to know. But Guild Wars 2 has always been very, very protective about sort of gear checking people. And the reason why I brought this up is someone posted a YouTube video of the very first time that I ever defeated a raid boss ever back in 2016. And there was a video taken. At the time, I didn't even know it was taken. But I just watched this YouTube video there, and there was a DPS meter in the upper corner that is not ARC DPS. This is before ARC DPS was a thing. And back then, there was a lot of drama in the raid scene. People were getting in trouble. There was a guy in particular getting banned for the use of these DPS meters because they actually allowed you to gear check people. You could see people's gear. You could see their build. This was reading the API, and it was getting people in trouble. And ArenaNet made a very firm stance on that right off the bat, that they did not want people getting scoped without their consent, effectively.
Yeah. I like WoW's approach to it. Like they let you freely look at other people's gear. And a lot of the times it's really helpful because sometimes, you're like on a paladin and you were tanking the wing before, the raid before, and you went in as like a holy paladin for this time and you just didn't switch your gear around.
Oops.
I feel like it's really helpful to check.
I do it myself. I click on people all the time and be like, hey, Virus, your food and utility have expired. I do it constantly. I'm always calling people out on their food and utility because that's the one thing that I can actually check on someone. And I do it when I'm just sitting around.
Just surprised, honestly, that it's such a hot, or it was. I remember when it was, such a hot button issue for Guild Wars 2. I know, ArenaNet's concerned about toxicity, but it's so easy, especially in today's game, to get ascended gear. So you're not really like, hard checking someone saying, oh, you don't have, legendary gear, you can't come raid. And with exotic gear, I think most people, we've proven it before that the damage and the healing is so insignificant from exotic to
it's fine.
It's not a big deal. Yeah. So it's all about just making sure the person has the right set of gear on, not the, and I think, I don't know, something where you could just check even just the attributes that a person has and maybe not their total stats or, the type of gear that they have. Just something to know that they're on a build that makes sense, I don't know. I know you can link builds right now with traits and stuff like that with the templates, but
which means if people want to, they can force you to show something, right? Ping your boots, ping your chest. You see this stuff a lot in raid LFG, so people do find their way around it.
But also, as Dewey said in chat too, like ascended gear for a new player is not easy. Like we're coming from years of tomes of knowledge and tons of this stuff just overflowing our banks just because we have it from raids and things like that. But a new player experience is going to be something that's totally different, and it's actually really hard to be objective about that when you've been playing this game for as long as the three of us have been. So I know Virus has been playing it for less time, so
I was going to say, I think he just had his first little baby birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Virus! So, 1 year anniversary in Guild Wars 2.
Yeah. So how do you feel about the Ascended then in that perspective?
Well, I think it's fair. What Cryptic just said is 100%, right? If somebody came into my group and was like, hey, I know what I'm doing, and they told me, like, I know the mechanics, I looked it up, I know my build, and I have exotic gear, I wouldn't kick them. Yeah. I personally, I wouldn't. I know there's a lot of people that would. I'm not trying to represent the whole raid community, but if you're asking me what my take is, I used to rock, do you remember, Judy? I rocked exotic gear for like way longer than the average bear.
Absolutely.
And dominated meters for years,
And that was with Hollowsmith, right?
Yeah,
It was Heart of Thorns, it was Vipers.
And even going to EU, right? Like how much rating did I do in exotics on EU and did just fine, right? It's not about gear. It's not about that level of gear.
I think as long as you have the right stats and everything, like you're fine. Like I don't care about gear checking people. I know, some raiders will be like, "Oh, ping your boots or ping, your gear," and it doesn't even matter because half the time if you have like legendary gear or stat selectable exotics, you can't see the stats that they selected anyways.
Actually, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Like so. I mean, I don't know. I feel like as long as people are running the right build, then it is what it is. It doesn't matter.
I mean, and like American Fires was saying, it's possible to to basically force someone to show their gear and their traits and stuff. So why not just make it a way for people to check? I mean, people can already be toxic about it. There's no reason to gatekeep that.
And at least then it can be used in a positive way as well, right? Because right now it's basically just negative. Ping your boots, and if they're wrong, I kick you. At least if they're in a raid with me, if I see what's going on and something's off, it gives me the opportunity to send a very productive message, right? Which I would do. And so I wouldn't mind the opportunity to be able to do that. I think that would be really good. And this really does serve as like a gatekeeping for rating. So that's, it is a thing.
I mean, how easy would it be to be able to say, oh, that chrono in my group is here for alacrity versus it's a power chrono?
Yeah.
How nice would that be?
God, do you guys remember when power DPS chrono first happened? I was on the bleeding edge of that. They would just support for forever, and I was like, oh, I could play a Mesmer in DPS, right? That was kind of huge at the time, and so I started playing power chrono, and the life was so hard. Every group I was in, I would be like, hi, DPS. 5 seconds later, I'm like, there's no quickness and alacrity in this group. They think it's me. They think it's me. And this is every single group I was ever in. I had to constantly fight with people like, dude, I said DPS. Now, of course, it's easier, but it would be nice. It would be nice. Like now with Mechanists, dude, you know what I do? I go up to their mech. I stare at the fists, see what kind of build that they're running just based on the hands. Like I can look in that way and no other way. Like, it's so funny.
Well, speaking of Mechanist,
oh god,
is it
talk
time?
about how Mechanist should be nerfed into the ground.
Hold on,
from the game.
Hold on. I want to start because I think this is a thing. I didn't want to skip Angie's message. Okay. Angie said a little bit ago because this is going to lead into that. We were talking about sort of being a limiting factor or gatekeeping into raids, right? Mm-hmm. Angie says rotation complexity is another big limiting factor. You see a lot of mechs, especially Connie mechs, because it's not obnoxious compared to Angie's other alternatives. So before we even start this debate, and I warn you guys right now, we might start throwing things. Mechanist right now is in a very interesting place. So we're actually going to go through and talk a little bit about all the elite specs. But Mechanist is the hot button issue in our group of friends because everyone is sort of looking at it, right? It is very strong. It's a very strong build. There's a lot of variety in the way in which you'd like to play it, which I think is a staple of Engineer. I'll just go throw that out there anyway. That's a staple of Engie in general, which is why I think Engineer is like the best balanced class in the game. I just love it so much. You can make choices based on preference, based on fight, based on complexity, and decide I'm going to have it be a little bit more complex and take a little bit more damage as a result, or have it be easier, more streamlined, and lose some damage, but they're all viable, right? And so right now, the current state of Mechanist in particular is that it can play DPS alacrity and do good DPS, right? For alacrity source. It's comparable to like a Div Ren. Or a full-on heal alacrity build, in which case there's a whole balanced debate around that alone because it's very strong in terms of support. We're going to get into that. And then in terms of DPS, there are 1, 2, 3 total ways to play Mechanist DPS right now, all of which are very strong and have different choices. And so there are some people that are saying that it's too strong. There are some people that are saying that it's, and this would be my argument, that it's a little bit more representative of the modern build balance, which I think Jenny brought up just a moment ago about sort of like the comfort level of modern elite specs. So, okay, go.
I was gonna say, why don't you
also thank you, Isa! Tier 3 sub, dude!
For people to just get a understanding of.
Love you, man. Sorry, I got very excited. Tier 3 sub from It's Isa. Love you, bro. Can somebody please shout out It's Isa? I love this, man. There's the Junie heart on paper. Much appreciated. I'm sorry, Cryptic, what'd you say?
No, I just thought if you wanted to break down, I know you love explaining things. If you wanted to break down
I do.
the 3, you said there was 3 different DPS Mechanist builds. If you wanted to, just so people can understand what the core differences are between them.
Absolutely. So there are 3 different Condi. They're all Condi. There is technically a power Mechanist build out there. It's very low. It's really not as worth it. Condi Mechanist. It's I mean. It's also weird. Like I don't know. We can talk about that later, but it's not representative of the build right now. Just play Hollow. Yeah, he's right. You play Hollow if you want to play Power.
Extremely well balanced right now. Well,
it is, and arguably way more fun than Power Mechanist. I'm just gonna throw that out there. It's way more fun. Yes. So the 3 modern current builds for Mechanist are Pistol, Condi Mechanist that takes J Drive. Okay, that is probably the simplest form of the rotation that exists. It does about 38k. It is not confusion damage oriented. It has good sustain, good uptime, 100% ranged build. Okay, you're auto attacking in Grenade Kit. You're using Grenade 245. like every other Condi build, that is the only kit that you take. The rest, not only are they kits, or not kits, but they're effectively signets, right? So they're just kind of use off cooldown thing. We have a what is it called? Something inscriptions trait, effectively making it so you can use your active abilities on your signets and keep the passives. And then there is the Condi Mace Mechanist that also takes J Drive. This is the last trait for the Mechanist, how it affects your mech and what ability it uses. In fact, that's the one that gives you the signet ability. This build does just a hair more DPS sustain on the golem. Is just slightly more complicated because you're actually I would put it a full step up in complicated, not multiple, but just one, because you then have to manage auto attack counting, auto attack chains. This is a thing. Not only that, but in the optimized rotation, you're doing full 3-part auto attacks on some rotations, and then 2 out of 3 auto attacks on others. So counting becomes a thing. The uptime of DPS on the golem is just a hair better, but it actually sacrifices a bunch of bleed and quickness for roughly 24-25 stacks of confusion. This actually makes it all around better because it's better sustained than the pistol. You can do this on every boss, but on bosses that are like confusion oriented, fast attacking bosses, Soulless Horror, Cairn, what's the last one? Twin Largos. These fights excel with confusion, so it's a little bit more complicated, a little bit more damage. And then there is the J Dynamo build, which is effectively a slightly more streamlined version of every other Condi engineer build that has ever existed. Condi Engi, Condi Core Engi, Condi Scrapper, Condi Hollow. These have always been good, always viable. But no one, except Engi, I'm so sorry, Engi, plays these builds because the level of complexity is extremely high. So this takes multiple kits. It takes grenade kit and bomb kit and also mortar kit. So you're doing the kit swap stance dance thing that a lot of other Condi engineers play. So effectively what we're seeing now is a nice tiered system between 38 and 41k. Based on the level of complexity you want and based on the boss's attack speed that you're seeing.
Nice tiered. No, that was a great explanation. I mean, obviously I think the crux of there's a lot of points here when it comes to what we should be doing with Mechanist in general, because there's two sides of this. There's the support and the DPS side. I think we should probably tackle the DPS side first because I think that's the one that's going to generate the most debate, but we will come to a consensus. We always do.
Almost.
I think that the core issue here is where people feel the amount of damage that a simplified rotation should be able to do in comparison to its more complex cousins and its more complex and other specs that also have complex rotations. As an example, we talked about the hardest version of Condi Mechanist doing 41k thereabouts with allies. The easiest version does 38k, right?
38k. Barely over 38,
yeah. Condi Rev right now is doing what? I believe it's doing
37, 38k.
Yes, there you go. Is that?
It depends. It depends if you're taking Devastation or I forgot the other one.
Doing 41 with allies though.
Yeah.
And
which I think fits just fine in this comparison.
Well,
based on its rotational complexity.
There's one more component that you're leaving out of this, which is not only is it its rotational complexity, but how does that damage actually apply in raids? Okay? Condi Mechanist is not confusion dependent. Okay, it is not torment dependent like Revenant is. Revenant is torment dependent. Condi Mechanist does its damage in any Condi fight, even non-Condi fights. Okay, Adina, even non-Condi fights.
It's not a fast ramping. It's not a slow one either. But I would put it in the middle of the pack in terms of Condi ramp up DPS. I would say that I was able to stretch my legs. I think I was able to stretch my legs a bit in that Adina because our overall group DPS was a little low. Would you accept that that's true?
I would agree with that. And it was CM, so she had more health. But It is not a slow ramp. Like Revenant is extremely ramp up. Revenant would never work in that fight in Adina. This is an extremely well, and I don't mean balanced as in it is a balanced specialization. I mean it is an extremely balanced as far as its ability to play on every single Condi fight in the game, to do well in all of those fights. It has a ton of utility. Merrick, we were talking when you were doing the MO thing. I was saying, oh, you should have used you were doing MOCM earlier in the week. You should have used your signet, because that is just a teleport. That is a shadow step.
Yes. Shift signet or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a Condi class with great mobility, and its damage is also, if you're playing the easier version, also tied to a mech that is basically invulnerable at this point.
There are several fights where my mech dies.
Okay.
Tell him, Virus.
There's one now, and that is the explosion from Kadim 1. If the mech stays,
Wait, there was something else that was killing my mech. I was trying to remember what it might have been. A strike. Is strike number 4? Does that kill your mech? I think it's strike 4.
Strike 4 will kill your mech, like almost everything there will kill.
Yeah. Dragon's End meta. Yes, Engie. Same thing. That's what it is.
But Cryptic is talking about, Ren, but let's bring up Harbinger, right? Because Harbinger has a 41k bench, really, really good on all Condi fights. Great mobility with Shroud 4, even Shroud 3, Pistol 2. I mean, super, super mobile.
Also a relatively streamlined rotation. It's almost Reaper-esque, right?
Very easy rotation. Like, it is crazily easy rotation. Gives might to the group, even without being in what do you call it, in a support role.
In a support role,
it still gives might.
Not enough, but what we're seeing these days is that's actually kind of cool, right? These sort of like hybrids that are contributing some, but not enough of a boon, right? And then you can you can combine things together. I do a little bit of might, you put it together. It's kind of like throwing together a few staff mirages or like RR renegades, that kind of thing.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's totally necessary.
I agree. I think that it really is representative of something that I think should exist. And this has always been my argument for Reaper, right? Some of you guys might have even heard my sort of speech on this, which is that I played Reaper for a long time, got pretty popular for playing a decent Reaper, would surprise people with good DPS, but the overarching thing would be that people would come and say, oh, Reaper is so cool, I love it, I want to play it, thematically awesome, fun to play. It needs like a 3k DPS buff to put it in realm with everyone else, so I think it should get that, and then it will finally be good. But my thing is that I think that if you were to do that and make that realistic, you would have to nerf other elements about the class that I think were sort of iconic to Reaper, and it should demand a more complicated rotation. I think there should be a variation rather, on builds that are easier to play and should have a slightly lower DPS, right, or utility contribution than classes that are harder to play. I was strongly in favor of the Catalyst being buffed again, because Catalyst, like every Elementalist, deserves to do a lot of damage, right? We sort of know that that's true. I agree that in terms of Mechanist's DPS, based on its sort of, Engineer's middle of the road HP, right? That's terrible CC. It's really bad CC. No, DPS Mechanist. DPS Mechanist.
Oh, okay.
It's not good CC.
Yeah.
And so like so you don't have the utility there. The other thing is especially if you play pistol, it's 100% ranged. If you play mace, it's melee. But that, I don't know. I guess if I were to really be honest with myself, if I really wanted to be realistic, I would put it. I mean, it's more complicated to play than Reaper. I would probably put it at.
Is it
37k?
Is it more complicated to play than Reaper? Come on.
I have to give Cryptic hard time because he was gonna try to like spank me on his Mechanist the other day, and he brought it down. And there's a variation in the.
No. I haven't even practiced Mechanist.
I know. I'm just teasing you.
I just pulled out a random Mechanist that was like
pushed all the buttons.
And that's my point. I pulled out the complicated version of Mechanist. I didn't know the rotation. I just knew what kits I need. I just knew.
Well, wait. Does this argument actually pertain to the more complicated to the Dynamo version of this build? Would you say that has all the same arguments against it that you made for Mechanist in general?
No, I mean that one's actually that one's more of a inflation, a power creep of the game in general. And I mean honestly, I think some of the arguments do apply though. Like my big thing with Mechanist in general is that the damage is just so consistent and it's so safe, right? The complicated rotation does require you to be positionally aware with your bomb kits and your grenades, and I mean the mortar kit's sort of not really a thing, has a huge range, and you only do one skill in that. But you have to be somewhat aware of what's going on around you. You can't just sit there hitting buttons and having fun. That being said, though, they've given it a bench basically with the way that they've sculpted this class, the specialization. They've given it a benchmark that competes extremely well. Both of them, the simple rotation and the more complex one, J Drive and J Dynamo, that competes extremely well or exceeds pretty much every other Condi build. And on top of that, it's just like Hollow, right? Hollow works everywhere. And we don't complain about Hollow because not only is it complicated a little bit, right? But it also isn't the top of the benchmark thing. You're not looking at it being like, that's a 40k power DPS benchmark. That's insane. Like that's Chrono.
And power
Chrono, that's reserved for
power is like a whole debate right now, right? Because of where power is. I just checked the benchmark page. It is roughly the build that we're talking about. Even the most simple form of this is 19th down on the list in terms of DPS. So that speaks to the bigger thing that we're seeing now, which is that I think that some of the criticism we're bringing to this is dated at this point. I think that ArenaNet is more likely to buff other things to be in line with what we're seeing now than they are to nerf everything down, because the overall, like I said, it's 19th and 20th down the list if you consider the 55k condition Untamed build.
So real quick, a lot of these benches are being done with still having spirits, still having banners, having like all these things that we're not gonna have in 2-3 months.
Yeah, but that's going to bring everything down consistently.
Depending on the build. Some builds are going to get hit much worse. In fact, we're going to see a lot of builds that are it's mostly going to hit power builds, I think, and honestly Condi Virtuoso. Anything that's got a crit component is going to get hit the hardest.
But to clarify my stance, I think the main issue that I have is
how
consistently it applies its damage. That I'm not as good as Renegade as I used to be, but that me and Merrick can go to SH and I can bring my Renegade, Condi Renegade, and he can bring the basic version of Condi Mechanist.
I did the middle version. I brought the mace.
Okay, so the middle version, sure. And you were doing what, 36k on average, and I was doing what, 31, somewhere around there. I
had a pull at 41k. That one where we weren't moving, we didn't have to move. I was 41k. It felt so strong.
This is what I'm talking about. Like those.
I know I'm not helping my cause.
That number is extremely consistent, and most of the other condition builds don't work that way. And it's artificially inflating its number, not just because of its ease of use, because its ease of use means that it's reproducible. You can easily reproduce this. Okay, you can always consistently get out the same rotation without running into hitches. Condi Ren, I'm going to make a mistake eventually. It's going to happen, right? It's eventually going to happen. That's not really the case with the simpler version, the J Drive version. And then on top of that, the way that it applies its condition damage means that the numbers are also going to be consistent regardless of what RNG happens in the fight. And that to me is inflating what it should have a lower benchmark naturally because of how consistent it is. When we talked about Reaper's lower damage, lower benchmark because of its survivability and its ease of rotation is the trade-off. There is no trade-off with Condi Mechanist. What is the trade-off? Somebody name me the trade-off.
I would say the lack of utility that it has access to is a component. No, well, I mean, a mobility utility is nice. That's nice. That's not defining. I would say CC. CC is the bigger thing. In most fights that I've done in Solosaurus since we started this, I actually ulted out my second pistol for a shield. Most of the time, because I was tired of getting embarrassed and people like glaring at me because I was doing not enough CC. I would say that consistency like that, the 1 point I'll give you, because again, I think 38k 19th down on the list, I actually think that it's pretty good where it is as long as they bring everything up. I would be more likely to support the argument of buffing your Renegade than I would be to nerfing the Mechanist. But
I'm all for buffing the Renegade because I love Renegade too. I'm sad it's not viable like everywhere anymore.
But the one thing that I would say is that the one real truth here that I think we can all agree on is that I don't consider it like the easiest rotation to perform, but the greatest thing about it is it's most unmess-upable, right? And we were talking about that in terms of Renegade the other day. Like, if someone told me, Renegade is super easy, I recommend new players to Renegade. I'm like, don't do that. Renegade requires much more, even if your performance of it is easy, even if you have gotten it down so well that it's very easy to perform reliably. The truth is that it requires more knowledge than other builds. You have to know how the energy swap works in addition to weapon swap, in addition to the legend swap. If you have more energy or your rotation is interrupted in a good way or a bad way, sometimes you have extra energy. Like, how do you use that? How do you dump? There's a lot of other investments in it, and it is possible to screw up. If you press too many buttons, you have no energy and you can't legend swap, right? You end up in a pickle where you just kind of have to wait. That happens a lot with any kind of Deadeye build as well. That's a big component. You can screw it up and you're sort of 15 seconds of just auto attacking until you can get back on track. The nice thing about Connie Mech, it's true. You can be inefficient in the rotation, but there's nothing you can do that screws it up, right? You're not going to get lost and have to reset it in some awkward way, which I think is, again, one of the nicer things about it for me to recommend to new raiders. That's kind of nice.
Can I just say, like, most of the new rotations though are pretty simple. Like,
yes,
like unironically, like a lot of the newer rotations are just really, really simple, and they're performing pretty good numbers. Now there is some really hard rotations. Well, and we're coming from the experience of like when I first started, it took me how long with Merrick in the Golem to sit
for Hollow?
And get down? Yeah, for Hollow.
Yeah.
To get it down. So we're kind of coming from a time of like when we had to sit there and actually practice our rotations and get good at it and all this.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason to play Guild Wars.
I'm not arguing with you on
He's
that.
not wrong.
I'm not arguing with you on that.
Literally the entire end game of this game is showing off your skill, and you're telling me they've removed
and honing it. And honing the skill.
I am telling you that it seems like they are removing it because they do probably want more people to get involved in these strikes. They want more people to get involved in the things that they're doing, and a lot of the times, like we've talked about before, that's gatekept by. You can't do the numbers. A lot of people will kick you out of the squad or whatever it is. So they are kind of, with the lack of better terms, dumbing down some of the rotations.
I see both your points. I think it's true. First of all, I think Virus is right. I think that's where they're moving towards, and I think it may not even be unintentional. There might be an intentional change to be more inclusive. I also see Cryptic's point that for those of us who have been raiding for a long time,
I agree with Cryptic.
Yeah, you have to artificially create goals for you to try to accomplish in this game because there are no tangible game-given goals. It's all what we like to call it. Like, I've never even heard this term before Guild Wars 2, and this is like it's been coined and used a billion times because it's really the best description of the game. It's a horizontal progression. There's no vertical progression. So you have to give other reasons to do this. And I am losing track of some of the discussion that's going on in chat, but from the little bits that I picked out, it is really easy for different people to have very different opinions when they're talking about stuff like this because they have a very different demographic that they're talking from, right? That they're thinking about new players, casual players, or hardcore players, whatever sort of demographic you find yourself in really colors your experience of how raids are, but that is actually a description of why Guild Wars 2 works the way that it does, because everyone who plays this game comes up with their own ideas, their own goals, and for Isa and people like Isa, it's like speed running, right? So like the meta, the tip-top bleeding edge of efficiency is the most important thing. For me, it's often for variety, being able to play as many builds as possible to find something that no one else is doing and try to make that work, right? That's more viable now than ever before. Or the inclusion of newbies into the raids and raid scene and try to get them taught and have the raid content be more accessible than ever is also a really good thing. In terms of what Cryptic is saying, I think that I would agree with you that it is not a great thing, but that it doesn't actually deter me from finding the fun. Because these days, the meta and the power creep is such that I expect the bosses to die. It's not really a progression anymore. So If I'm like, oh, I have to play this easy build that sucks and I want to play something more challenging and cool, like, it isn't that way. I could play that if I want to and have fun and show it off to new players and introduce it to them. But then I could be like, I want to be cool and play something that is harder to play. And those things, I like that there's options on all those fronts. Would you say that that's acceptable?
Yeah.
I was gonna say we're kind of straying from the topic of Mechanist and boons and stuff here.
Well, I feel like
finally get to see the
cool. I
stash.
feel like Mechanist is one of the cornerstones.
Thanks for the sub, man.
This issue anyway.
It is.
Because I mean, like I don't know. I agree with I kind of agree with the premise what you're saying, Merrick. That premise just doesn't work for me. And I don't because I don't feel like ArenaNet is successfully accomplishing what you're saying, because things like Mechanist, things like Harbinger, Kandi Harbinger, these things need to be lower on the DPS scale, because why are you not playing Harbinger? What is the reason not to play Harbinger or Kandi, the Kandi Mechanist that you're playing? It took you 5 minutes to learn it. You're going to be top DPS in every raid that you're doing. 10 minutes to learn it. You've proven my point.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to learn Power Chrono? How long did it take you to learn the hard version of Power Chrono? And how good did you feel when you were kicking everyone's butt?
No.
Because it was the highest DPS, and it was a hard rotation, and you were showing off how skilled you were, and the meter was rewarding you for that.
Yes.
Now, my Renegade, and I know I'm being biased here because it's my Renegade, but I'm going to keep using it as an example.
Cryptic only plays two classes.
Yeah.
Renegade and Holosmith. That's it.
I mean, I could kick people's butt left and right with Renegade, and now there's a Kandi Mechanist that would take me 5 minutes to learn. 5 minutes to learn, and I would kick everyone's butt with it. But it's where's the skill in that? Where's the I'm not being rewarded visually in game with the meter with what people are seeing, and I'm not being rewarded internally because I didn't have to work hard for that. So if this is the progression in Guild Wars, if horizontal is the progression in Guild Wars, for at least for endgame, where are we going here? Like I don't like the direction.
Go ahead, Virus. I have a retort as well, but yeah, you go.
So can I just say too, though, like Merrick took 10 minutes to learn this build, and I've seen people with it in raids, but they still don't perform up to that level, even with the easy versions.
Thank you.
Like there's a lot of people that, even though these rotations are being kind of dumbed down to us, and I agree with you, Cryptic. Like I feel like the harder the rotation, the more rewarding it should be, because that's what I learned when I first started. But I still see people not getting these rotations down. So I feel like to us, like to people like me, you, Merrick, that have raided for, I've been raiding a year, like pretty much, and
thank you. No point.
I feel like to
I
us,
think so
it's kind
too.
of like, well, why do we not get rewarded for being able to do these complicated rotations? But to newer players, they're still like, well, I can barely do this easy rotation. And, this guy's like 10K higher than me. Referring to like Merrick or somebody that plays that,
Yeah.
But isn't that the incentive? Part of the incentive?
Well, yes.
To improve and progress. I mean,
yes.
I don't know. I know it's not for everyone, and we're only talking about DPS right here. There's a whole support side of this that we'll get to in a second. But
then Virus can be the one that has to like defend and block everything.
But for DPS players, I mean, when I first started raiding, I started off as a hybrid support. I was playing Alacrity. I was playing I did Power Warrior, but it quickly got shoved.
He keeps saying it. I don't believe him.
But once I realized that I enjoyed DPSing, the progression for me was seeing other people, take Merrick as an example, do really good damage and bench myself against that and work up and work up and work up. Yep. And I've seen other people do the same thing with me, with other raiders, see where I am, bench themselves against it and work up, work up, work up. That's the progression in raiding, at least for DPS players in the end game. And it's just not possible for me, and in my opinion anymore. If I was a new player coming in, I remember, when I first started raiding, and then when I first started getting serious in the raiding and stuff, if I saw this and it took me because I really do think even back then, maybe it would have taken me 30 minutes to learn the new Kandi version of this, because it's like Short Bow 3 Soul Beast. The J Drive version.
Yeah.
It's like Short Bow 3 Soul Beast, right? I mean, you remember teaching people that, it's
I do.
It's not. I don't know.
This is harder than that, but I would put it in the same bracket.
I want these to exist, by the way. I'm not saying I want these simplified, streamlined rotations to exist. They should exist, and they should do good damage. They really should. They shouldn't be top of the bench. And part of the reason, and I know
20th down. 20th down.
I know, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is that in actual raids, it doesn't represent itself that way, and ANET knows that. They know it does not. In actual raids, it represents itself as the top DPS.
It is easier. It is easier to perform.
We're good at it.
No, it has what you're trying to say. I think is that it has a higher skill floor. Right, it's more.
Yeah, it's through the roof. The skill floor breaks the roof. It's.
I think I totally agree with you on a lot of this. I think if we were to explore, like, should Catalyst do notably more damage than Condi?
Yes.
Mechanist. The answer is absolutely. We all agree on this. I think that we should try to reward the difficulty and complexity. Sorry, what Cryptic?
I would love to get my butt kicked by a good Catalyst. I am always, whenever I see any Elementalist in any version of it in raids beating me, I am always floored. And like, who is this guy?
That's the thing about Ellie's, right? They join a group and you're like, your eyebrow immediately goes up and you're like, you are either really good or really bad. And I don't know which one it is yet. It's going to be one or the other. And I like that about Ellie's, right? That's kind of a cool thing. I believe, again, I know that it's sort of harping on it, but 19th or 20th down is very significant and enough that it is representative of the fact that there are so many things that are that high. I think that once we see some additional balancing, like if you want to know my actual desire, it would be, first of all, to bring everything down by 8K. I think everything does too much damage right now. That's a hot take.
Changes with
just in general balance terms. I think we all do way too much damage. I think raids were more fun when everyone's good benchmarks were 33K, 34K. Okay. I honestly do. I think like we skip so many mechanics now. I was teaching Karen the other day, and I forgot to mention the arm slamming down because I couldn't remember the last time I saw it. And then someone reminded me of it, and I was like, oh my God. There's also rings. The rings that happen in Cairn, right? Like the little expanding rings that happen if you're really deep in the fight. So I would lower the DPS overall. I think that the classes like, I'm not sure where I'd put Renegade. I'd put Renegade higher than it is. I'd probably put it 39, which it has seen before, right? Like Renegade is very strong. It's been strong for a very, very long time. Its rotation isn't super toxic either. I think the real comparison should be something like a Ellie, which is very difficult. And you're right, by the way, you brought up the Power Chrono. Like when you're really mastering that, like the loop in Power Chrono is easy, right? But when you're really mastering the nuance of the intro or the second continuous split, these things are very fascinating and really difficult and should be rewarded, right? Like I 100% agree. But Mesmer also has like more utility than anything else in the entire game. It's stunning. It's incredible. All the amazing things that it can do. I would put those things higher than this J Dynamo thing. But at the same time, I don't think that it needs to always be just on those two metrics. One of my favorite things that I've ever done in this game was to play Power Hammer Scrapper, which was harder to do, right? That was a harder build and a really low benchmark. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that for me, if like you're acting as though this really easy thing is up there, you're acting like this really easy thing is very strong, and therefore you feel compelled to have to play that. And for me, it's the opposite. Like if I'm unhappy with the way that works, like I'm more pleased to take something that is less powerful, more complicated, and therefore much less seen in raids, and then get to do everything that you're talking about, right? Put my skills to the test, really work on progressing myself as a raider, and then have that reflected on the DPS meter. You're going to get much more shock and awe, both of yourself and of your peers, by getting really good damage on a Hammer Scrapper than you ever were going to on a really solid Weaver. And I like those outliers. So I don't think everything needs to be so scaled like that. Just as a raid trainer, I won't lie to you guys, I'm very excited for a build like this to exist as like a walk into raids and have a successful opportunity by picking up these streamlined builds, right? It is very much like Reaper in that way.
So yeah, and that's another thing too. Like we talked about
Roka.
How streamlined
Agreed.
This build is. Like I don't know, what was it, last patch when we had a bajillion Scourges around? Like I've seen Merrick whoop Scourges on his Reaper when he was, on his Reaper, and they were playing Scourges on like Karen or MO on fights that he shouldn't be. So I mean, like, that just goes to show like,
and that's fun.
Yeah, well, that just goes to show like even how simple a rotation could be, or how simple something could be. it doesn't matter. Like there's always people that can't do it, and there's always people that are going to be able to play even some of those lower bench classes better than you can play an easier class. So I think overall, I see everybody's point here, because I think the class should exist.
See Junie's point, actually.
Yeah.
In fact, I think she was gone for a while. Did you disappear and come back?
I
Sorry,
was
Junie.
gone for a bit.
But I do see Cryptic's point. We should be rewarded for doing some of the harder rotations. I do agree that Revenant was kind of just shoved back. Like, doing the rotation for Revenant is way harder than the J Drive build. And we're like, what, at the same bench? Like 38K for both of them?
See that, I mean, again, we're going to wrap this up and move on to something else in a second here. But I mean, that's the
this was Mechanist the podcast.
That's the crux of my issue, is that, Isa and other people in chat, Roka, other people in chat are saying, that Arena is only bouncing for the benchmark, right? And that really is the issue here for me personally, is that
it's a part of the issue. Yeah.
They see the 38K and they see Revenant's 38K and they're like, that's fine. Like, yeah, Revenant's a little harder, but it's fine. It's close. It's close. And plus Revenant with allies is like 41K or something, 40K.
Yeah.
It's good. But then in an actual raid, when condies are applied completely differently, depending on which conditions you're applying, when the damage actually balances out and the simplicity of different rotations takes precedent, and even just the fact that it's ranged, ranged with mobility, is with a golem that can't die.
Technically the build on Snowcrows is melee. Okay. The mace build is
how much
melee.
is the DPS difference with the pistol as opposed to...
very little. They don't even show the pistol option anymore. I caught it before they added the mace. They literally replaced it. But I think it's 37.8 to 33 to 38.3. I think it's somewhere in that range. It's very small.
See, I actually disagree with that. Why get rid of it? People, I think that they should do less damage, but that's a build that people should have access to. That's a whole nother rant.
But it's confusion, right? So like now, even just on sustain on a non-attacking boss, it's higher. So in confusion, it's drastically higher. In fact, in any boss at this point, because even if a boss is slow attacking, it's adding more to it than you would get from a golem.
Yeah, that's fair. So. That's fair. But anyway, I mean, I think we all basically agree. We've kind of come to a consensus. I just don't think that ArenaNet is actually going to, like. I mean, I think, Merrick, you wouldn't have a problem with Harbinger, the Condi Harbinger being not the top Condi. It's not the top. What is it?
No, Condi Virtuoso. Condi Virtuoso is top.
The same thing, Condi Virtuoso.
Which is another whole debate, because Condi Virtuoso is also very easy. It's a very easy build to play and very, very strong, and 100% range, and all the Mesmer utility, and not dependent on confusion. I mean, like this is what I'm trying to say about Mechanist is that I think that this is just that it's the new theme, right? I mean, I believe that it's hard to imagine that this wasn't an intentional shift in the overall direction of raids because of how many things apply to this. Jenny was here earlier. One of the first things she said was that all of the new builds are kind of easy and really high DPS. This is true. And we can definitely have our feelings about that. I think like what we've sort of, if I could say the theme of our whole discussion, not just us, but also in the chat here, because the chat has had some very, very big discussion. I would say that what this reflects is how different everyone's experience coming to this discussion is reflecting in how much of a variety there can be in terms of what fun we derive from raiding. Because again, you have to decide on your own fun. Yeah, it isn't super rewarding. There's not a vertical progression. So what it really is this huge variety of things to try and have fun with, and you to find the fun that's there. So for some people, I've never been able to raid. I can't be successful. I can never compete. Like, this adds options, and that's cool to me. And then it also allows me to play something very hipster that is not one of these things, and compete with some of these more streamlined and very powerful builds, do well, and then have that be my reward. And of course, the discussion in the chat has been several other people with very differing perspectives on all of those things. But I think it's more inclusive than it is exclusive. Hi, Svante.
I'm ready to fight Cryptic on the boons and the
okay.
Oh, is it time?
That's
But before we open that door, I just want to throw something very interesting that Andishan said, who's a new player to Guild Wars 2. He said, from a new player perspective, it's a little odd and frustrating that I have to spend 80 levels playing a spec I'll never get to play again, as no one apparently uses core specs anymore. Elite specs should be made available way earlier, or someone should somehow make core specs as viable as elite specs, but I guess that reigns on the elite part of it. So first of all, I would say for a brand new player, why they're elite specs is that if you look at your actual spec tree, there's 3 choices and only the bottom one changes. So effectively, you don't go from a necromancer to a reaper and get rid of necro. You're just adding a reaper trait line. It might shift some things around and give you a different identity, but the abilities and the weapon skills, the utilities, the heals, the elite skills, they're all still viably available to you. So being a core spec just means not taking an elite spec on top of your core spec. So I think you might find in general that it's not quite as limiting in terms of that, but they do, now that there's several of them, it is hard to just get away with taking nothing, just being core. What is viable this core? Core guard, is that still even a thing? Core NG?
Core
Those two, that's it?
Pretty viable.
Yeah, I think core NG, core guardian. I mean, these things are viable there are other things that are viable in PvP and World v World, right? The core specs are. It's really just PvE endgame where they just get completely dumpstered on, right? Just completely outshined. I don't think there's another one that the core is viable.
You know, I think Svente would have been a good good co-host for the PvP changes, because I don't really do too much PvP changes.
I know, dude. It'd be nice to get like a PvP perspective. Oh yes, and Empress XV, guys, we should do this. If you guys want to do like a special Guild Wars 2 PvP podcast, I'm game. We should do this some point. So yes, let's move on, because we got a lot of elite specs to cover. Let's at least clear out the support realm of Mechanist. Virus, I assume you think it doesn't need to be nerfed.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be nerfed. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it.
Oh my god.
Okay, so here, real quick, I already know your argument. Like, it can upkeep might, right? That's your argument. It can upkeep alacrity 100%. That's part of your argument. Yeah. It can pretty much upkeep protection. Part of your argument.
Yeah, that's
okay. So here's the thing.
It gives a lot of vigor if you're good at it.
Well,
ooh, I'd have to take so hot. You need those sunglasses, Merrick TV.
Mech tree now. So the mech tree doesn't give vigor. It can do like 30-40% vigor. It's not as much as it used to be. But
yeah, it's not as enough as I want it to be. Vindicator player.
No one's talking to you down there.
Hey, I'm up here.
But no, so my thing is I think we should wait to judge the heal version of this until Druid comes out, because when Druid comes out, if one of the spirits pulses alacrity, it's gonna be pretty much a heal mech. Like, it's gonna give the might, it's gonna give the prot, it's gonna give the heals, it's gonna give everything else. Or even if it gives quickness, it's gonna be the same thing, but a quickness version of it. And might I remind you that we are in all Harrier's gear to upkeep all these boons. Like a PAM or a Power Lack Mech or Cam Condi Lack Mech, they cannot upkeep 25 stacks of might. They can't upkeep the protection. They can't upkeep stuff like that. That's just alacrity.
Even the might is a little harder to upkeep, isn't it? Well, to keep 25 might. I don't think that's easy to do.
You can't even do it. You
can't do it anymore.
Yeah. So I would say that the Harrier's build as it stands now, just as a reminder to everybody, it is in all Harrier's gear. That is the only way it can upkeep everything it does. And when Druid comes down, and they talked about the Druid spirits pulsing essential boons, I think is what they used in their
quickness and alacrity essential boons.
So it's either I hope it doesn't pulse both, because if it pulses both, we're just gonna keep a Druid in every group. It's gonna be dumb if it pulses.
Are we even sure it's gonna pulse either one? Do we really know? I don't think we know.
Well, they said it's gonna pulse an essential boon.
So, which could be might, I guess, right? Like,
Grace of the Land is still 5 mana. It's going to be a thing.
I suppose that's true.
They could gut it entirely and just give completely.
Yeah, they could too. So I mean,
you leave Druid alone. Druid is homeless without raids.
I honestly think
all the elementalists are crying in a corner.
Yeah, they are. You're right about that.
I honestly feel like we should wait to.
Yes, Empress, don't nerf Druid.
The Mechanist Harrier build until we see what happens with Ranger. As far as the other two, like Kandia Lakmech and Power Lakmech, Power Lakmech is the same benchmark as a Diviner Wren. Diviner Wren actually has an easier benchmark, so with your terms, it's an easier rotation. So with your terms, Power Lakmech should actually be higher, in the rotation or the DPS. Same thing with Condimech. It's actually lower than the new Condi RR build. So I think those are pretty well balanced where they are.
You know what I really like about the mech Alack though is that it is so easy and consistent to upkeep the alacrity. Yeah. The alacrity, right? No, the might takes real effort. In fact, any other boon other than alacrity takes a little bit more effort. But what I like about it, and this is, again, it equates very similarly to the Condi. Like, I guess I'm just looking at it from like a raid training perspective, which again, we all have our own perspectives, but oh my God, I just trained Junie in how to play a Lakmech, and I was like, look, press this, and this whenever they pop up. And it's done. You're overcapping it because you're in full Harriers. You're overcapping alacrity. It is very easy to upkeep alacrity.
So I will say, me and you had this debate about Hillbrand. I don't know, a few days ago. I feel like the Lakmech is the new Hillbrand in the sense of it has a pretty good skill ceiling. Like if you know how to handle the Mechanist, you can do really good things. Same thing with the Hillbrand. Like in past patches, like I don't think this patch it's any good, but that's a different debate, different topic. But past patches,
poor
if you're really,
Hillbrands.
really, really
Where's
good
Tiffy?
with a Hillbrand, if you're really good with a Hillbrand, you could maintain a group really well.
Yeah,
but
without the Aegis, it's changed a bit.
Yeah, without the Aegis, a lot of Hillbrand was damage prevention more than damage healing. I think personally, but with the way Mechanist is,
there's a lot of healing
in really good hands. You can do a lot with it, and maybe lower than average groups or people that want to pick it up. They're gonna be able to upkeep a lack and probably do some heals really easily with it, but they're not gonna be able to upkeep the might. They're not gonna be able to upkeep the protection and stuff.
Vigor,
like that.
Vigor.
Well, no one cares about Vigor.
No, I care about Vigor.
But so I essentially see it as the new Hillbrand. Like it's good.
Yeah.
I feel like Pug should play it. Pug should get used to it. Everybody should get used to that class. It's a good class to pick up.
So what is your argument then? I mean that all makes sense to me. What is your perspective on why it should be nerfed, Cryptic?
So I was talking about 80% boon duration, that it can keep up boons in a way that no other class can. I don't actually have a problem with that. There is going to be the best of something. Like when we're talking about variety and ArenaNet's goal to bring variety back into the meta in general. The best stuff, if you're in a competitive group or anything like that, the best stuff is always going to be what people gravitate towards. So you're just going to shift it from one to another if you nerf Mechanist and buff something else. What my core issues are: one, the simplicity.
Vigor jail.
Oh my God.
I don't.
Compared to other boon classes, is that? Because how would you compare that?
Not necessarily to other boon classes, but there isn't a lot of decisions to be made. I have an issue with.
But there's a real rotation with kits and things. There's if you really want to do the full thing for what you were talking about, more than alacrity.
What's the reward for doing that? That's my point.
The damage. It has one of the higher benches. It has one of the highest benches as a.
But also you're not you actually have to work to keep up might, and you have to go out of your way to keep up fury, and this requires a rotation because a lot of that is coming from HGH. So you're doing you're having to do your elixir rotation basically to try to keep up as much might as possible. It's the kind of thing where you can play it really brain dead if you want and do minimal healing, 100% alacrity and no other boons. And then you have to actually do like a bit of a rotation, kit swap, do various things if you want to keep up more than that. I think that's representative of most boon classes.
Most of that is for damage. There are other ways you can keep those boons up. And with all the hybridization that we're having, you don't need to keep. Other classes are providing might. Other classes are providing these boons to help you sustain. It's not entirely dependent on you anymore. I mean, but
let's compare it then to your class, right? What if we were to talk about Heal Lac Brigade? The complexity of upkeeping boons in Heal Lac Brigade is arguably simpler. than it is in Mechanist. What would you consider heal aggregate to fall under that same umbrella?
Managing energy is far more complex than pressing.
But you don't need to, because all of the management that you're talking about would be, again, for DPS or other utility that is not necessarily needed to upkeep these boons. I think these arguments sort of fall in the same.
You can't give you know how quickly you can drain energy as a heal aggregate? You can drain it instantly.
Well, you can, but in order to just upkeep. In order to just keep alacrity up, it's not any more complicated. I mean, people used to tease all the time about keeping up alacrity. You just pressing the one button, right?
Alacren, you're just pressing the one button, and it's unless you're doing some weird stuff, it's hard. Unless you're hitting Jade Winds accidentally, even then, it's hard to put yourself in a situation where you can't press that one button. But Heal Renegade, you're giving out other boons, and on top of that, like you're doing Might, you're doing other boons. On top of that, your heal, you can spam that in the tablet. You can blow through all your energy instantly just because you're not paying attention and not be able to do anything, not be able to give out Might, not be able to heal, not be able to provide alacrity. There's more complexity to it than
well, that's more ability to screw it up. Right, because if you're talking about upkeeping alacrity, and that's all you're doing, that isn't any harder to do, right? So
that's not a fair argument, because that's not what Heal Mechanist is doing. Heal Mechanist is not just upkeeping alacrity. That's not what Heal Renegade is doing. They're not just upkeeping alacrity. If you want to do that, then we're comparing a power Mechanist with a power Renegade, and then your argument is right, and I don't have any problem with that. You just press one button on both of them, pretty much. You just press one button and you call it a day. I mean, then your argument's right. But we're talking about them doing more things than literally just pressing one button, because they maybe not have to, but they should. That's what they should be doing. And then by the end of the day, it's just way simpler and doesn't there. It's not just the challenge; it's what you're able to provide based off that simplicity. And Mechanist can provide a lot, and Renegade can also provide a lot, but there are consequences to bringing that. There are trade-offs to bringing that, and we don't see that with Mechanist. I mean, it's the direction they're going with all of these specializations, all these specs. You don't have to worry about the mechanical trade-offs. You just press a couple of buttons and you call it a day, and you get button A does what it says. There isn't a decision to make there. When I'm pressing the heal button on Renegade, even the alacrity button, there's a decision to make there. I'm giving up energy, and that's going to have a consequence. Pressing that button on Mechanist has no consequence, and there's no
but pressing the alacrity button on the Renegade is the same. It's just going to do what it's going to do. You're talking about the other stuff that it does, right? We're not talking about just the alacrity contribution. Like, at least you have to press three. You have to press 3 buttons for Mechanist, right? That's 3 times the buttons.
I mean,
and managing your Mechanist or your mech, which it can still be an issue if that's if we're talking about ways that something can be screwed up. It's still there. I agree with you in general. I think this is a bad comparison, because in terms of boons support, there's few things that I think took a lot of work to do. I would argue that trying to get the most out of Heal Brand, which is probably more work than both of these. Maybe let's see, Scrapper's also very, very easy streamlined. Druid, maybe, because you're having to manage a stance. It's probably the only one that I really think that this applies to. There's really good arguments for the DPS Mechanist, but I don't know. I think in terms of heal mech, it sort of fits right in terms of that level of complexity and investment. Which is very high skill floor, right? And then like a medium high skill ceiling.
So I just want some of those boons moved up in the ceiling. That's what I'm saying. I want you to have to do those other things.
I wouldn't be opposed to having it as part of the rotation.
Can the mech not swim?
Integrated into HGH or an elixir kit or something.
Yes,
that would be fine too. It would still be able to do pretty much everything. I found it silly.
I don't want it to lose stuff. I just want it to be changed.
I found it silly that they took away Vigor, of all things.
I didn't know that.
I thought that was the silliest change. They were like, we're just going to pluck
out Vigor. I would have had them take many other things away before Vigor. What is the best source of Vigor these days, by the way? Can somebody tell me what that is? Where do you get Vigor from? I mean, no one's going to bring a Heal Tempest, all right? So don't say Tempest. Sun Spirit, is that it, Isa?
So, yeah, I think Sun Spirit might be it.
So I have to be in a group with a Druid and that one that is taking Sun Spirit. I just need this for my own personal information. I need it to find out where my Vindicator should be.
So if you go with your heal mech, they'll give you Vigor with Medkit 5. So I mean, you'll get some Vigor.
I've seen it. It's low. It's not what I want it to be.
But and also Isa said in the chat, just take turrets and it is easier. So I will give that to Cryptic.
Mace
If you play if you play the turret, do what?
The mace gives vigor also, doesn't it?
I think
should
part of the
mace.
auto chain attack gives vigor or something.
I don't think it's the auto attack. I think it's 2 or 3.
I think it's mace 3.
Mace
I
2
play
is
this.
confusion.
I should know.
Mace 2 is
like
vigor.
twice.
Is it group vigor, Ukon?
Mace 2. Yeah, it is. I believe
It's subgroup vigor.
If you play the turret variant of this build, I feel like a Cryptic is 100% right, because the turret variant of this build is essentially like Spirit. You throw down your turrets and you step away from the fight. That's it. That's all you do. Like,
I'm surprised Cryptic didn't bring up the 5 signet build where you just auto attack and press a couple buttons for 32k or something like that.
Oh, good job. Thank you for making my point.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. There's a fair argument against that.
But yeah, the turret build is a really, really silly build. It almost shouldn't exist. Like it is ridiculously easy. Upkeep 25 stacks of might. Keep your alacrity, upkeep all kinds of boons. Protection on the group is like at 100% with turrets.
Can I bring Junie into this? Because Junie, you played. I would say that this is maybe the most current thing that you could speak to, because you play support in raids most of the time.
Right.
That video that I told you guys about the first time we ever killed VG, I was tank chrono, and this is 2016, and Junie was standing right next to me on a staff heal Ellie Tempest, I think, water only, right? And since then have played Druid, Firebrand, and now Heal Mechanist. And you just picked this up and started playing it. How do you like it? How do you feel like it fits in?
I think it's pretty good, but it is lacking self heals. That seems to be what kind of is not quite as much as I would have liked. Roka actually mentioned in chat how it's unfortunate that the way it was done, the toolkit skills are not there because of the mechanism.
I know, I hate it.
I think having that one toolkit, like you bring the heal kit, and if you just had that one toolkit, I think it would have actually tipped the scales to be a much more enjoyable and self-sustaining build. And in this case, you're kind of almost relying on the other healer to heal you, and it's never something that a healer wants to have to rely on.
You have like pulsy floor AoE heals, right? You don't have a big, oh my god, I'm in trouble, heal me thing, which is important.
Much for yourself. You do have a couple, like there's 2, but it doesn't feel quite as good as like a druid, because at least with the druid, when you're healing everybody around you, you're also healing yourself, and that's much more helpful.
I mean, I think a lot of the issue is the lack of separation in what the mech does and what you do, and the fact that all of the mech stuff is healing, barrier, and the boons all in a couple of skills, right? And like I was talking about this earlier, you were talking about lack of CC. I mean, obviously with the mechanism, you bring your shield.
Heal mech has better CC.
Heal mech CC is great. You get like 3 skills.
Why is the alacrity on the why is alacrity on the daze skill? Like why it shouldn't, or it provides a couple of other boons. Like it provides boons and stuff that I would want to save, protection, a couple of other things that
I hate that.
You could argue
instead I have to use it for it's a stun break.
Not necessarily though, right?
Stun break.
Couldn't you argue that you don't have to use that because you give more alacrity than you need to, right? You could maybe
delay it. You could delay it.
You could save certain things if you really needed to.
I think the biggest issue with it is the fact that it does give one giant stack of stability, but like say you're on Slothazor and it gets corrupted by like slubs, then you're screwed for the break bar part. That's
the other thing. It gives you stability, right? But that's part of your rotation as well. And it's one stack of stability.
It's 1 stack for 30 seconds. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a stun break as well. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's true too.
It's protection, a stun break, stability, and there's a couple of other things. I mean, these are all things. Obviously, the alacrity. These are all things that I want to save for specific moments in raids, and instead now I'm using it for alacrity off cooldown.
Well, I think that's been a plight.
Wouldn't you call that
with healers
choices though?
But that's been like this for healers in Guild Wars 2
I mean,
for
it is to delay something intentionally because like that's something that somebody brand new to the fight or new to the class would not do or would not think to do or know to do. I think that's like an expression of more complexity, not less. I wouldn't call that a complaint.
You want me to delay and waste alacrity? Because that's what would happen. It would be a waste.
Well,
because people wouldn't be
that's what
around
I was
to
just
make it.
Again, I think alacrity is pretty easy to upkeep on this build. It's not you're not down to the second.
You overcap alacrity by far.
I know, but I mean that is the main source.
Yeah, that is the main source. But also, I think what is it? Medkit 3 is a stun break. One of the medkits is a stun break because I've had to use medkit to stun break from Slothazor for my subgroup one time because
that's fair.
But I mean, yeah, there is some options within the kit. I don't think it's the worst.
Throw up the poll again, Jenny. Before we move, let's see if everyone thinks we should nerf the. I'm sorry, Junie. See if we should nerf the heal mech. Do you guys chat? Do you think it's? I would say that the overall. By the way, in case you guys missed it, everyone voted no on the DPS. There was like 7-2 to say no. Well, good. But I think I'm gonna take a guess right now that that the heal mech is actually gonna pass for like needing to be nerfed. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, that was the other thing I wanted to raise real quick. The other big issue that I have with it is that it is going against ArenaNet's goal of variety, and not just because it's the strongest. It is the fact that it provides so much that it goes against that variety. Because that's what we're talking about with variety. Is we don't want one class to be able to provide so many things. We don't care if Mechanist is the best giver of alacrity and the best giver of vigor. Let's say, right? Then yeah, it'll be the primary alacrity, it'll be the primary alacrity source. Nobody's gonna have a, problem. I don't think not many people are gonna have a problem with that. It's making sure that then Revenant, provides something else that makes people want to bring it along with the alacrity. Sure, it may not be the best alacrity source, but as long as it caps on alacrity and it can bring something else, people will, like its bubble is still very useful.
Oh yeah.
People will bring it. And we feel like Mechanist is just bringing so many things that nobody cares what Revenant can bring. And I'm not saying Revenant, nobody cares what anyone else that can bring healing and alacrity can do, because Mechanist just gives you almost everything. I mean, if that barrier was that bubble that the barrier provides, the projectile reflect, was 10 seconds long and not 5 seconds, I would say it is by far it replaces everything. Everything that gives that alacrity. Why would you bring anything but a Mechanist?
I agree. Like, there is some aspects that could be toned down, or even if they just integrated into the rotation, like you were talking about, instead of like your mech 2 buttons give you a full bar of boons, whatever.
Wouldn't you say that's a valid argument for everything again, like every kind of Mechanist? I guess this is actually an issue that I brought up several coffee breaks ago. I feel like regardless of what kind of Mechanist you bring, what you end up doing is pressing all your F skills off cooldown, right? So there's no choice, no utility, whether you're playing power, Condi, or support, or a hybrid. We've replaced 5 tool belt skills, right? Which all had utility, with just 3 skills that you use off cooldown no matter what. I feel like it has oversimplified the engineer class, which I think part of its charm is its complexity. I would agree that in general, if I had the choice, I would rework the mechanics of the Mechanist. The mechanics of the Mechanist. I would probably do that. Just in general, I feel like it is dumbing down something that I miss. I really liked the tool belt skills. If I could make there be an option for more complexity in terms of that, I would, is what I'm saying. I'm not necessarily saying you should take things away from it. I just wish it was harder to do. How about that?
Yeah,
in terms of the heal Mechanist, at least, I would say.
Yeah, I'm going to say
I agree with you there.
So before we move on to Mechanist, last thing.
Oh, God.
One, should we be able to change? This is positive stuff. Should we be able to customize our mechs? Why is everything green in this expansion?
I need to throw something.
Okay. This is another hour-long topic, but it's fashion, so Virus is going to leave. I'll come back in a little bit.
Everything is green in this expansion. I don't understand why we can't customize.
Yes, and I hate it.
Everything. Have you seen behind me?
Yeah, I know. We're gonna remove you from the podcast.
This is Guild Wars 2. Customize everything, like No Point said.
At the very least, just let us change the color. And why not give us
at the least
skins? And why not give us different skins
the least
in the gem store? They can charge us for it. It's fine.
I want an Inquest synergetic skin to match my other synergetic stuff for my Mac.
Dude, there should be a freaking Asura Magitech one, and then if you could dye it, you can make it Inquest or not, right? Okay, so this is obviously an entire podcast, and I had an entire discussion about this earlier just today. But I'm telling you guys, I've said for years, you guys have heard me say it, they should steal from PoE and sell aesthetic visual augmentations to skills. All right. So always I wanted that to be. Why not make it so that instead of summoning undead minions as a necromancer, you can summon, I don't know, flowers, statues, unicorns. I hate you so much. You even took me into freaking saying it right now. I hate you so much. But you know, Path of Exile does this. This is exactly the kind of thing that Guild Wars 2 would do, right? These are the kinds of things that they would sell in their gem store. They would make buckets of money if you were like, and this is the example I always give, right? If you're an Asura engineer and you summon a turret, don't you freaking hate that? Doesn't it feel like it's a bunch of junk from a scrapyard? It is clearly a char animation. It is a char turret. But what if you could buy a pack on the gem store for $5 that changes your turrets to be Magitech like Asura, or plants to be like a Sylvari, and more than ever before, right? I've had this argument for years, but don't you feel like it's the right time right now? This new elite spec drop that we just got has a ton of these things. Like, yes, the mechanism would be awesome. Would you guys? I won't lie to you guys right now. I'll just tell you ArenaNet right now. I would spend 2,000 gems, just like a mount, to get a fancy, awesome mech skin that is unique and dyeable. I would gladly do that. And then, that's not the only class. What about the 5 basic, weird-looking daggers that are always above your head as a virtuoso? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to change the weapon? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to change what that dagger looks like? How about the blades, the gun sword for the Bladesworn? There's like so many new things that they could do this with. I feel like it's the perfect time for them to implement this. Rant over for today. I'll bring it up again tomorrow.
I think this game focuses too much on fashion.
Oh my god, kick this man. What game are you even playing?
Cancel this guy.
And I think everything is just fine green. Everything should just stay green. It should live in green. Green's the best thing ever. It's Green Wars 2.
Green Wars 2.
Right, it is. So, one more thing on Mechanist. Who else thinks the movement with the mech is weird? Like I do. It doesn't matter if you're playing.
I hate it.
Issue.
It's weird.
Yes, but it's really weird.
No, it has
worse than pet movement. It
is. It's worse. It's worse than pet movement.
How is that possible?
It thinks I have cooties. It will not stand next to me. It does not want to be seen with me. It is embarrassed to be standing with Merrick. I go to take a screenshot with it, and it's like no, and it runs off like 18 feet ahead of me and 8 feet to the right or to the left of that.
Why is the distance that it stays away from the player larger than the pet?
Than pets.
Why is it
or minis?
Why would you make that different?
I don't know,
you've
dude.
Created something that people now have to adapt to, that instead of it being a uniform thing that people can learn and improve upon.
Oh, Roka, dude, virtual high five, bro. I've been saying this for forever. I want a sub fee option in every game. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. If I could have done that for ArenaNet forever ago, I would have. I think ESO is the best payment model. And this should be a whole podcast topic, obviously. In fact, it's on our list. You will see this topic as something coming soon. But I totally agree. I would say that NG is right. I would be willing to forgive the not wanting to stand next to me thing, and even the green more than the input lag. I am sick of it, dude. Like, yes, certain skills. Like, first of all, here's the difference, right? Just so you guys know, in Guild Wars 2, there is a skill queue. You can press 1 and then 2 very quickly, and it will queue the second skill. Just a little bit, but it will queue them. You cannot queue skills from X, and it drives me insane that you can't. It's very frustrating. More than that, this skill interrupts this skill, but it's not really evident. This skill is channeled for this long, but it's not really evident. You're mashing buttons. There's this animation lag. It is... If the mech is going to be a thing, we got to clean up the code. I feel like it's just a little... dicey, right? It doesn't quite feel. It feels still beta. Is what it feels like.
I want them to fix the mech dying if you unsummon and summon it too fast.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yes, I had that happen to me. It freaked me out. I was like, I called my mech. I unsummoned it to do CC, and I called it down. And I did it so fast. I had quickness and alacrity. I did it so fast that as it came down, I watched it land on the platform and then vanish. And then put it on a second cooldown.
And then it puts it on the full cooldown.
Yep, the full cooldown.
The full cooldown? No, then you're ruined. You're ruined then. That's...
done.
What in the world? Whether you're doing boons or DPS, it won't even matter. You're just totally wrecked if that's true.
Also, the elite signet should res the bot if it's dead.
I agree.
Oh, yeah. I agree
too. Down if it's on cooldown, why doesn't it res the bot?
Oh, that's true. I'm with you on that, bro. That's maybe okay. So game mode specific. Right, because maybe PvP and World v World. That's why that would be too broken. But yes, I agree. In PvE, why not? Why not?
Yeah, and Virus is right. That bug has to be fixed. I couldn't believe it when it happened. I was like, okay, guys, you're just not getting any alacrity. You're not getting anything for like 30 seconds.
It's a huge CC. So like you want to unsummon it and summon it. Like it is.
Do you know the number?
CC.
What's the number
it's
on
like
that?
400. CC.
You're kidding.
It does a huge
no way.
CC.
I don't know if it's 400.
God, I need to start doing that. I wasn't doing it.
It is a lot. Yeah, it is a lot. I mean, what I actually do is if I don't care about the elite signet, which normally I don't, like if I know the mech's going to be fine, I unsummon it and just instantly call it back with the elite signet, and it drops.
Makes sense.
So,
as a healer,
not
as a DBS, because you need that as DBS.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I mean,
you take the elite signet as a healer.
Yeah, you do.
Oh no! You take Mortar Kit because Mortar Kit 5 gives might. See, you're not even playing the build right.
Oh, he's playing the simpler version of the build.
Oh my god!
HGH, bro. You need that elixir. You need the elixir from Mortar Kit to upkeep might.
I was thinking about Mortar Kit, but
it says no. Chat.
No.
Judy.
Whoa.
World at large. Turns out, don't mech it. Don't mech it. Don't nerf it.
I think that's a bit of a. I do think that's a bit of a misnomer because even I was thinking about voting no. I didn't vote at all, but I was thinking about voting no because I don't mean
because you landed where we landed.
Yeah, it needs
in
to be,
terms of
yeah.
Just make it more demanding, right? In order to accomplish what it already accomplishes.
Yeah, but you don't need more. I mean, I don't know. Mortar Kit's nice, but like, it's not.
You need that might.
You need it for the last stack of might. It won't.
Yeah,
well, not to mention the other heal.
Might, guys. Other things.
The heal is good.
Might.
You mean other builds?
Yeah,
but some of the argument is the other things other than alacrity that it gives, right? So that's a valid part of the argument is how well it can upkeep might, for example, in addition to the alacrity that it's doing. Because otherwise, what's the argument? Everything can provide heals and alacrity easily. Like that's not.
Well, it gives fury, regeneration, protection.
Can give fury. Doesn't have to. So there's also
build it gives resolution. I mean, what?
Yeah, which is crazy. That's crazy. I don't even think resolution should exist. I don't know. I think that the resolution. This hot take, guys. I think that the resolution change and the fact that retail was removed was the silliest thing that I've seen in a million years. Retail should exist. It's one of the only things in all of raiding that was actually scary. Right? If you had retail, it didn't matter how much power creep was a thing, you were just going to wreck yourself, right? That was actually scary. You had to respect certain mechanics. That just facilitated the skipping and ignoring of mechanics because they changed that. I thought that was so silly.
Can I
no
say
passionate feels by that?
Well, we spent an hour on Mechanist and we got 8 other classes.
We should
go.
Transition.
What's next?
The most important
Untamed?
topic. Well,
you're not going to say
Untamed.
Untamed.
The most important topic. The most important topic is, what do you guys think of the latest My Little Pony stuff? We're doing Pink Fluffy Unicorns, right? I mean, that's...
Absolutely, yeah.
The quest for what is
what the hell? Did Cryptic just say what I think he just said? Someone clip this.
The equestrian update.
Clip it.
Yeah.
No.
Cryptic wants to know.
No, Merrick, I sent you the video, the clip that you should show on the stream. To get us started for this talk.
Yes, this is an important segment.
For what talk?
This is the important subtopic that we were planning.
For the quest for, I can't even say the name.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, Equestria.
We're discussing
Equestria, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing the My Little Pony characters and what their strengths and weaknesses are.
Mm-hmm.
Chat, are they me? What's happening? I don't understand what's happening.
So bring up that clip and we'll start it off there.
What
and
clip?
I think personally we should probably start with Rarity since I know you have an affiliation for that one.
Yeah.
Junie,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
We talked about this beforehand.
Yeah,
you were on board with this. I don't understand what's happening.
We did not talk about this beforehand. What is happening?
We
Shut.
totally did.
Lengthy conversation.
Am I not in the know about something that's happening? Is this
all posted in leadership?
Is this a Kofi thing? Is this a Kofi thing?
No.
You're all just looking so guilty. What the hell is happening?
Oh, take a look at Discord, Merrick, and bring up that clip.
Okay, fine. Hold on. I wasn't ready for this because I didn't know this was happening. Coffee break doesn't have like a. Okay, hold on. I can do this. Where is it? Coffee.
So this is how it all began. So everybody.
Oh my God! It's this clip. Okay.
I'd like you to give what you think is your favorite character and what you think the strengths and weaknesses of that character is. So we can start it off with maybe Merrick, and then we'll go clockwise.
I hate all of this. And go clockwise. What have you guys done to me? My beautiful coffee break. Where's my music? I gotta turn the sound back up.
This just shows Merrick doesn't pay attention to leadership.
It wasn't in leadership. Was it in leadership?
Yeah, we actually had a full conversation about
about this subtopic.
You guys are lying to me. I'm going to leadership.
You should play the
It's not there. Okay. They're gonna think I'm a brony instead of you.
It's me. It's me.
Oh my God.
Responsibility, but I bought these because
No. You guys hear no sound?
No sound.
Oh no, I hear it.
You should.
You might be muted. Like you might have accidentally muted the stream.
They're gonna think I'm a brony instead of
This
you.
is how it all started.
it's me.
Many,
it's
many.
me.
Oh
I
my
take full
God.
responsibility, but I bought these because
No,
they're so
please.
cute.
Is that
And
when
it's
Elf on a
being
Shelf
Merrick.
was followed?
It's like,
It is.
You see? He's shining armor, and I.
Junie, can you please now? Do you even know what you did when you did this? Years later. Oh my God, look at that pink hair. They're gonna think I'm a brony. This was the moment Elf subbed.
It's me. It's me.
Oh it's me. God. See, she said it's me. Everyone always gives me crap. She said it. It's on stream.
It's like
You guys didn't see. She was
he's shining armor, and
I.
Can you please now?
Oh,
Can you
nice.
please away with that?
Point. Yes, Origin.
I hate you.
Still works.
I hate all of you. You're all the worst. You're all terrible.
Okay, so Merrick, so you're first. Favorite
Hold
character,
on.
strengths and weaknesses.
Are we seriously doing this? What is this for? Do I have to do this? Is this because it's a Kofi thing? Is this what it is? Who did this? It's got to be Maddox. Maddox? No? Soul? It's Soul or Maddox?
Topic, and you're taking up time.
Okay. What do I say? What am I supposed to do?
Favorite character and one strength and one weakness.
You guys are the worst. God. Okay. So clearly, it's the pink one, the purple one that I don't know the name of because I don't watch the show. I have no idea what you guys are talking about, except Rarity. Rarity's the best one. Rarity's the best. It's Rarity. I don't watch the show. I don't actually know what I'm talking about, except that Rarity is the best. Just gonna throw that out there. Solid. Sparkly. Solid sparkle. Purple
Right, guys,
purple hair.
Flip that.
No, Brody. No, come on. I don't know. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. I saw this on a commercial. I think it was one time that I was forced. I had to do a book report. It was school. They made me. They did this thing. There was this guy who did like a PowerPoint presentation. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Anyway, that's it. That's me. That's the end. Goodbye.
You didn't do a strength and weakness.
Very fashionable.
Okay, cool. And a weakness.
Maybe a little disconnected because she's just. I'm just gonna. I don't know. I'm just, it's fine.
Oh man, that was amazing. That was amazing.
I hate all of you so much.
I think this was the greatest April Fool's ever.
Is that what this is?
April Fool's, Merrick. And chat. Thank you, Null Point Origin.
It's no point, wasn't it? You beautiful bastard.
Thank you, Null Point Origin, for using one of your unicorn wishes to make this April Fool's joke happen.
God. In the middle of coffee break?
So I will say that does relieve you of the mustache, though. I'm pretty sure that relieves you of the mustache.
Oh, because he's done with his
yeah.
wishes.
Hey, how much is a wish? Maybe I'll.
I think they start at 50. Can I get a poll, please?
No, they start at 25.
At 25.
Oh,
Can I get a poll, please? I would like a poll to decide, now that all of the wishes are no longer protecting the mustache. Obviously, we're a little bit of a smaller stream tonight, so you guys are our closest friends. I need a poll right now. Do you like the mustache or should I shave it? I want everyone to vote in this poll. Okay, it's very important. It may dictate the future of humanity itself. It might be the deciding factor in the survival of our race. I need you to vote. No doubt I'm not going to dye it. I can't dye it. That's too much pain. It's like bleach on the nose. I don't know.
I will dye my beard all over again if you dye your mustache.
All right, the poll is up.
This is the mustache. Here it is. I was even getting to the part where I could like twist it on the sides. But what do you think? It's important. Everyone vote. Mustache? Question mark. Should I shave it or should I keep it? Should I stay or should I go? Well, mustache question mark, yes or no? Mustache question mark.
Yeah, yes, keep, no, get rid of.
Okay, I voted no by accident then. Yes.
Yes for mustache.
There's an extra yes.
Yes means keep it. Yes means keep it. No means no mustache. Yes mustache or no mustache. This is important, guys. This is really important. And while you're voting, look over there at there? Yeah, look over there at our beautiful Ko-Fi subscribers. Especially Null Point Origin, who is just a diabolical bastard. I will never forgive you. Yes, vote, guys, vote. I need to know. Oh my God, it's so close. It's so close. Keep voting, guys. I need to know.
My no counts as a yes. I voted for the wrong.
Wait, I thought you hated the mustache. Cryptic?
I don't think it fits you, but I want you to keep it. So.
Oh, you just want me tortured. I see. Roka.
So
Roka likes it?
Your no is actually a yes, Cryptic?
Yes.
Okay. So it's actually 9 to 7.
9 to 6. 9 to 6. Okay. Is the poll yes to shave it or yes to keep it? Yes to keep it. Yes to keep it. Very important. Empress is a beautiful woman. If you were to see me in person, would you be like, hey, what a sexy debonair mustache? Or would you be like, hey, maybe that guy should not be around school zones? I don't know. What would be your take? Just out of curiosity. Who the F is voting against the mustache, says Roka?
Oh, Merrick
TV Facts.
Merrick would prefer if you vote to lose the mustache as the glue irritates his skin.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Merrick TV Facts, I'm going to figure out who you are one day. And
we still don't know.
Lots of stuff.
I would never disrespect Junie like that. Oh, for which one? Oh, wait. Roka says I would not let you talk to my kids. Oh.
No.
Come on, I don't have that kind of, it's not that kind of look. I know the look you're talking about. It's very thin mustache. It's creepy. You know, that's not me. Maybe Royal OMG. I don't know. Maybe. Azure says sexy man who should not be around schools. That's complicated. That's both. That's both of them. I don't know how to take that. That's much more complicated. But I wouldn't let you talk to my GF either. See, that's him and Azure have the same complicated reaction. Complicated reaction. Guys, this vote is too close. I don't know.
Empress thinks you look better clean shaven.
You look like a cop from an 80s movies. That is the best compliment I've ever heard. I don't know why that would be, in the camp of shaving it. Super Troopers. Who didn't want to be a Super Trooper? Okay, anyway. We'll leave that up. Keep voting. Quick run through of classes. We knew Mechanist was going to take the longest. Okay, yes. Hot button topic. We knew that was going to be a thing.
Vindicator. Do you care that it has a single dodge? I don't. I think it's fine.
I think it's fine. I think that... I think with the ability that's going to be able to give everybody quickness, because right now it can give itself quickness, like permanently.
Roka, yes.
If it's built that
way.
The
doc.
But I think with the ability to give everybody quickness, it's going to be a really good build. I think it's going to be pretty well balanced. So probably be in the same tier as the other quickness sources. So I think it's pretty good.
Goose, yes.
Overall.
I know, Merrick, you think that the single dodge is fine. Do you think that, do you guys have a problem with the fact that it is a dual DPS and support spec instead of just focusing on one or the other?
No, absolutely not. But let me answer the actual question. Do I think that it is bad that it has a single dodge? First of all, I'm only playing the build because of its dodge. Yeah, I'll tell you that right now. I think it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. The Dragoon Leap is so sick. It is so much fun. It is utterly unique. I thought anything they've ever done with dodge has been really cool thematically, right? They add a third dodge to Daredevil. That was freaking awesome. So awesome. And so thematically appropriate for Thief, right? That felt good. It felt right. It was awesome. Then the change to Mirage is like a fundamental alteration to the mechanic of dodging. I thought that was awesome. However you felt about it, if it was too strong or weak in PvP or whatever, the idea of changing it and the way that they changed it, somebody sat down in a room and came up with that idea, and it was a great one. I thought that was awesome. This one is less practical, but really freaking awesome. And the reason why I don't think it's a problem, not only is it's just because they only have one dodge, but they have one dodge that you use off cooldown in your DPS rotation, right? That's the effective, important bit that needs to be set. But the build that I play has a like guaranteed reliable stun break, 2 very large leap dash skills like Greatsword 3 and Guardian. And if you play the build that I play with, which is Greatsword 4, or Greatsword only, rather, Greatsword 4 is an on-demand force block. It's a duration block even. It's so good. So I have not had a single problem in raids with a single dodge. So I'm just going to... I need you to give the reason why I think it's fine. If you guys want to try Vindicator, do it. It's awesome.
Now, you've had issues on Samurag before because of the dodge.
That's not because of the dodge. You know exactly why that is. I was greeting.
You also had an issue last night on CA because of the dodge.
That was weird. He's right. He's right.
Over a mechanic.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. First of all, the reason he's teasing me about Samurag, and he should, because I killed myself so many times. I'm very, very good at greeting, and at the moment that Samurag becomes free from the alcove, right? So after you kill Goldham and Rigum, there's this weird delay where Samurag's bubble is gone, and you can do DPS if you have range skills or very long max melee sort of skills. I get a lot of damage in this moment over every other DPS when I'm playing Reaper. You can cleave from outside the realm of the spikes and you're just fine. I was trying to do that in Vindicator and forgot that both 3 and 7 leap you into your target. And so I leapt into the spikes, not once, not twice, but thrice. There was thrice leaping into spikes and killing myself embarrassingly. It was horrible, very bad. The other thing that's really interesting that he's talking about with CA is I was set to be put on collecting shields as a mechanic, and no one had cleared the living shields that were still on the platform, and they pulsed this AoE cripple, right? So you're trying to like collect shield orbs during that phase, and they were left there as a wall. I had to dodge through them, which was fine, except that as it turns out, your hitbox when you're up in the air does not count. The orbs were going straight through me. 2 orbs in that duration were missed because they went right underneath me while I was up in the air. I was stunned that was true. So in case you guys are curious, it gets a little dicey.
Yeah, I will say though, do you think that when you're dodging and you're up in the air like that, should you be invulnerable? Because you can still die up there. Doesn't that feel kind of weird?
I think you should be invulnerable.
You are in evade frames, aren't you?
But
not invulnerability frames, but they're
I still see people die up there, and I feel like this isn't just a standard evade. You don't have 2 dodges, you have 1. Shouldn't you feel like this should be a little extra? But I'm not saying it should be, you got rezzed in vulnerability, but like, I don't know, like maybe you don't take damage from condies or something. I've seen people die up there, and it feels weird. Like
I want it to be even more, dude. I want to go over Sabbath's flame wall. You're up in the air. I have seen no problem with that. You should absolutely be considered up in the air above all of those shenanigans. I think it should all count, if you want my opinion. Merritt goes to the moon evades. Yeah, I mean, it looks like that. You should be able to leap over stuff. Maybe not to like physically jump on top of walls you would not normally be able to. I get that, but in terms of like mechanics going underneath you, absolutely, you should jump over them.
And one more thing, do you think the skill, I forget what it is, but it's kind of like the signet thing, that gives you, I forget the name of it, that gives you all of your, or 50% of your energy back, dodge back, or basically gives you another dodge. Shouldn't it be instant cast? Why is that?
That should be instant cast.
Instant cast if it was put on a longer cooldown. That would be my thing.
I don't really care. I just wanted
it. In fact, I think that's like a cool aspect of the build, and I think a lot of Vindicator players forget that that's even there. If you need a dodge, or if your dodge, like if a phase is up, right? Like the slam from the dodge is huge. Like the damage is really good. That's why you use it every time it's up in your rotation. So I think that you can like big brain use it to get ready for a burst phase. If the boss was invulnerable beforehand. But, if it was instant cast and the cooldown that it is, I think it's sort of, I could make the argument for why that's too good, maybe.
No, I mean, I think the way you described it about just nerfing the cooldown a little bit would be the right way to go about it. I guess one more quick thing isn't the movement kind of weird on Vindicator? I don't just mean the up in the air with the dodge, but I mean the dashes. Like it has two. Has a couple of dashes.
3 and 7 in 7 in Alliance.
And they're very wonky. Have you noticed that? Like, and it's especially weird
They're
for
different.
Revenant players who are used to the Shiro dash, which is the best. As far as feel, in my opinion, the best feeling dash in the game.
Which one is that for sure? I thought that he had like a dodge backwards or something. Is that?
No, he does. But then he also has. I mean, it depends. You can move the skills around, so I don't want to say it's like 5 or 6 or whatever. But it's a dash forward, and then it also has a teleport if you don't at the end when you don't finish the range. It is very, very. It feels perfect. Like the animation. I just mean animation wise. Animation, how it feels. It is very smooth.
Do I think it's a problem? I don't think so. I like
kind of janky. Like it's kind of like you're like
there's 2 different kinds. Well, that's why because 3 is like a leap and 7 is more like a charge. And so when you use them, they do feel different. But I like today I was doing Samurag, and as soon as the fight starts, you have to rush into that boss. Or the same thing with Sabbatha. I guess I don't notice the awkwardness. I just love the mobility because the moment that I see the fixate start on Samurag, or the fixate has been chosen, I go dash, and I'm the first one in there doing a bunch of damage, and I just love that sense of mobility. And I didn't even know there was one on Shiro, man. You're telling me I got a third dash? I'm freaking out right now. This is just
Shiro? Yeah, Shiro has
it's Alliance Shiro.
Yeah, the best feeling dash in the game, in my opinion. I forget what it's called, but yeah, it's not the one that flips you backwards. It sends you forward. You need a target, though. You can't just do it. It has to be target.
I like Shroud 2 in Reaper. That's a good one. You like that one? Not impressed.
So let's move on to Untamed. It needs to be buffed, right? Everybody agrees?
No, 55k. It needs to be nerfed, dude. What are you even on about?
They just need to fix the swamp skin.
Yes.
And everything
yeah.
Phase traversal. That's the name of the skill. Thank you, Dalendra and Azure. That's the one on Renegade.
Phase traversal.
Phase traversal, yes. I'm bad with names. So.
I agree. Untamed needs to be buffed.
Yes.
Crazy amount.
A crazy amount. What amount do you think it should be?
In PvE, let's just say PvE. We're not talking about PvP this time. Just
so
PvE.
PvE, so I don't know if you guys have seen the rotation. I know we talked about the hammer rotation. That's like ridiculous. The 33k whatever rotation,
which is also not legal, by the way. That rotation was even though you could get doing that rotation, doing it the way he did it with a macro.
Is this confirmed? Was he using a macro? I never saw that like guaranteed. I kept trying to find it.
I got it. I heard people talking about it that seemed like Isa was talking about people that seemed like they had insider information about it. Perhaps it's not true.
Where's Isa?
So the rotation is ridiculous. So you got to keep in mind this is a 1 weapon rotation, and it is ridiculous to
it's 1 weapon and super fast. Yeah, exactly. Surprisingly super fast for a single weapon rotation.
So I feel like either we need to figure out how to just buff the damage overall, maybe make some of those cooldowns longer so we can incorporate another weapon, or figure out something.
I mean, I'd also like to point out I haven't been able to find them because the thing that I was using to get those logs like disappear, and they were actually sent to me. So like I can't even. I'll have to go back and look through and find them. But I mean, I sent you a screenshot, Merrick, and I had way more logs than that of Untamed being top DPS in fights by a significant margin. And I feel like there's some weird wonky stuff going on with Untamed, its animations, and what you can do with macros using it.
So you think people are actively using macros and getting numbers?
Yeah, I think people are actively getting unfair advantages with Untamed, which is not. Look, I mean, and I think people are doing it not because they want to be top of the meter, but because Untamed is so bad, they want to show off. Look at what you can do with Untamed.
Play the old hammer scrapper vibe, man. Yeah, I totally get it.
They're cheating to do it. Even if they're not using macros, there are other weird things looking through those logs that I had up that looked weird to me. That didn't make a lot of sense. So I don't know. If somebody has a legitimate log that shows an Untamed doing ridiculous damage, I want to see it and I want to talk to that person. And I've been meaning to message the person that I saw doing all those logs just to see, hey, just get their opinion. Like, were you doing this legitimately? Can you show me how you were doing this? But if anybody knows someone that is doing crazy damage with Untamed, please send them my way. I want to know. I like Untamed. I actually do. I just don't believe any of the logs that I'm seeing. I really don't.
I'm so curious now, dude. I want to see like where that's being discussed. I had no idea because nowhere on the video or in the comments is somebody accusing that, and I figured that would probably be there if that was like a thing. Either way, I'm sad about it. I want to start off by agreeing with Junie and Phoenix. Actually, Phoenix was the one that said, people have been waiting because of Soul Beast and the sacrificing of the pet. What people have wanted the most for this elite spec was a new build that used the pet and did damage. And then they came out with like gorgeous pets. Like it's like a phoenix. Oh, yeah. It's gorgeous. It looks like a macaw parrot, right? And then a white tiger that's awesome looking with blue eyes turtle. And white and the turtle. Yeah. And then they take these gorgeous skins and they just wrap it in the nastiest Swamp Thing I've ever seen. It's Swamp Thing. It looks like Swamp Thing, the DC character, and ruins all of those things. Like you have to do that. Yep. Talk about a class that needs one of those visual augmentation things we were talking about, right? That would be really, really nice if only just to remove it. So that's going to be my first thing. I think that it's just ugly. I think the class is ugly for that reason. You have uglified an entire build that I otherwise would have been very excited to play. Two, it is complicated. It's a complicated thing because I really feel like it is akin to Hammer Scrapper in general. It's a very brawler oriented build. I knew it was going to be more geared towards PvP and World v World. But what Cryptic?
No. Yeah, I agree 100% with you. I was just gonna say it doesn't do the damage of Hammer Scrapper, and it doesn't have the utility of Hammer Scrapper. It does have more utility than any other ranger that we've seen other than Druid, as far from what I could tell. And it is really awesome.
Admittedly, I haven't played it, so I don't really know. I've looked at it, but
yeah, I mean, I've played it. I've only played it in open world. I played all throughout the expansion in open world. It's the only thing I was using was my Untamed in open world. It's the main character I use for all the story, everything. I've played Hammer Scrapper. I played it in raids with you. I played it in PvP. I don't think it compares to what Hammer Scrapper can do, not just damage-wise, but what utility it can bring. None of the boons, it can pump out boons, but they only go to you. They don't go to anyone else, and they don't last long. So, like I was able to cap 25 might at one point. I don't know I forgot what I did, but we were in open world, and I capped 25 might, and it didn't go to anyone else, and it disappeared instantly. And I was like, that's dumb. So I don't know. It's weird. And the animations are also, not to distract from this the point that you were making, Merrick, but the animations are also broken. The Untamed, when you're in the hammer and you do the whirl, sometimes that doesn't happen. Like the animation hitches or whatever, and the damage is tied to the animation. I would love someone that actually does checks this stuff to confirm it. But from what I've seen, if the animation doesn't go off properly, you don't get the damage from it. Like, wow. So it's so weird. I mean, again, this is open world. There's lag. There's all kinds of things going on that I don't know for sure. I would love someone to confirm this in the SFTA in a real environment. But when the animation doesn't go off properly because you're doing things too fast or whatever causes it, I don't get the same damage. I don't see the damage numbers from the whirl, and those damage numbers are super apparent. They're big, chunky at the ambush. Yeah, that's the skill I'm talking about. It's basically when you come out of the Untamed mode. If you've done a skill in Untamed mode and the ambush is off cooldown, it's a passive in your auto attack while it's on any weapon, but the hammer takes advantage of it the most. You do this whirl like you're Garen in League of Legends or whatever. Like the spin attack. Like a hammer scrapper.
Hammer scrapper.
Yeah, and it does a ton. It does a lot of damage. It's very nice, and they're usually big, chunky crits. And when the animation hitches or breaks or doesn't work for whatever reason, you don't see those numbers, and it's really frustrating. It's like I get there being a bug that has to be fixed with the animation, but it shouldn't be tied to the damage that number should still happen. That my character still shouts he's like Untamed or whatever, like whenever the ambush triggers, he still says the line, and like the game knows I'm doing that skill. I see the auto attack switch to that skill. It knows that I'm doing that skill, and then there's no damage. And I'm like,
so on top of being like incorrectly tuned, there's also some bugs.
Yes,
and just being ugly, which is sad.
That's the biggest one.
I know it is the biggest one.
Really
I believe. I run around, I see those pets, it just grosses me out. Yes. I would like it to be higher. I think they should really balance it around Scrapper because it's a very Scrapper oriented build. And let's not forget, Scrapper was trash for years, man. Like it had the same problems. Having a hard time finding a way to fight its way into a spot in PvE, right? It was very good in PvP. It was very good in World v World. It had a spot guaranteed. I'm sure this is true of Untamed also. The moment that I saw it was Hammer and I saw the skills demonstrated, I was like, oh, it's another PvP, it's another World v World brawler. And I absolutely knew it was going to struggle in the same way that Scrapper did. Do I believe that it'll get buffed in a way that it's going to make it viable for raids? I do. Absolutely. In fact, I would say within 6 months, my guess is we'll be able to bring it into raids. Is it going to be
35K?
Yeah, there it is, right? Especially since we were talking about the new normal for the benchmarks being 38 plus, right? You put this thing around 34, I'm happy. Not only am I happy, I'll bring it to raids, I'll get top DPS and Mimi pug groups. It's going to be great. Like that's basically everything we want it to be. I want it to be where Reaper and where Scrapper are. And I think that would be a good spot.
Azure makes a good point saying he has not seen and hasn't talked to anyone that has seen Untamed in World v World and PvP. I couldn't ages.
Yeah, I didn't know. Dalindra, new specs in general aren't really meta in World v World. How fascinating.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I am trying to get back into PvP. I used to PvP more frequently.
Are you really? SPvP or?
Yeah, SPvP, and
nice.
I have not seen. I was actually watching. I was watching the tournaments, the Swiss tournaments that Teapot shoutcasted earlier.
More PvP Empress.
Single Untamed, and it feels bad, man.
Weird.
Like,
That's a feels bad.
Yeah, like I don't know. ArenaNet, they need to figure out what they're doing with hammers, man. Like seriously.
Hammers in general. You're not wrong, dude.
Let's figure it out.
The whole weapon archetype is just very lackluster, CC oriented, I guess, utilitarian rather than DPS.
Bladesworn. Bladesworn seems awesome. I think we all want to learn it and play it. It actually seems like it's the one that causes the least controversy. Should the banner's bench be 500 off the actual DPS bench? It's 37K. It's insane. It's almost 38K. It's insane.
Yeah, I know. Like these. Even just to take off of what ArenaNet has said themselves, these kinds of choices should be choices where you're making a big choice to drop DPS for utility. That was the whole crux around the Catalyst argument, by the way. And by the way, just to retouch on Catalyst, I was 100% right about that. It landed great, and every Catalyst player I've talked to is thrilled, not just with the numbers, but the mechanics.
We'll get to it.
But I would say it is. Yeah, I don't know. Getting these numbers in the right place is tough for everybody. I think Bladesworn is very unpopular for some reason.
Well, because nobody's bringing banners to things right now because they don't.
But it was very popular and successful in the beta. People loved it, and so I was so stunned to see it was just not
much more damage in the beta. It was like
that's true. It was 50 something K. Yeah.
That's true. So I think it's really good in our structured or in our organized group, we actually bring BSBS, which is Bladesworn BS. It does crazy damage. Obviously it provides the unique buff for right now.
So it's a better banner. It's a better banner.
It's a better banner. Yeah, it's a way better banner. And I'll say that like 5 times fast.
It's a bigger, better banner.
Yeah. So I think it's in a pretty good place. It needs to be tuned slightly, but overall I think it's okay.
My concern, because nobody's, obviously, there are groups are bringing banners, but I think the raid community as a whole is avoiding banners because they don't know. They're trying to envision what it's going to look like in the future, and so they're not taking things that are going to be gone in the future. Maybe if banners get 100% alacrity uptime or 100% quickness, imagine a banner that gives 100% quickness. Goodness
Stop
gracious.
it! Stop it! Don't even speak that into existence.
That would be scary, man. If that happens,
Roz,
literally, they're not going to change anything. The build, I don't think that. Maybe they'll have to take some concentration. And if that's the case, then it'll be fine. But if not, and it's 100% or a lot of quickness, so they can be a hybrid support or something. Like a supplemental, like I do with my damage RR build, where like the old RR build, where I'm basically just supplementing alacrity because we need more.
Yeah,
a 38K bench that gives a ton of quickness from a huge radius banner is scary.
Yes, it is.
So
I'm pretty sure they'll balance it to where
I think
a factor. I bet it lands around the other quickness sources around 33K somewhere. Around there.
Azure said something interesting too, though. Better DPS banner has 1 CC though, and it's tied to their biggest DPS skill. So utilitarian From a utilitarian perspective, it does not carry in the same way that regular banners did, right?
Very true.
The DPS version is also the same as well. Better DPS, but does not have the CC. Yeah, a lot of the CC is out of it now. So.
Yeah, the CC is tied to their giant like sword slam or whatever it's called. I don't play it that much, but it's like the big attack that they do. That's the CC that you get out of it. That's pretty much it. So yeah, utility wise or CC wise, it's not that much.
Yeah.
What is that?
Genie is like,
look at little Raz. Raz decided to be a part of the stream.
Raz.
Look how cute he is. Bye, Junie, says Talendra. I just want to say a hi to Raz.
Let's move on to what Merrick wanted to jump into so eagerly. Catalyst.
Catalyst.
Everything's good with Catalyst, right? Everybody's happy. I'm the only one that seems to be upset, but everybody else is happy.
Every Catalyst I've talked to is thrilled. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the only one that is still upset. So,
but you don't even play Catalyst.
I still feel like it should be higher. I still feel like the DPS should be higher on Catalyst.
It should. Thank you.
I suppose. What is this? What is this current benchmark right now?
I think it's like 38, 39, isn't it?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Correct.
39.25.
Yeah,
I mean,
it should be higher for the complex.
For a power build, dude. I don't know. I feel like 90% of what I wanted came true.
Okay, so I'm not gonna hash up everything we talked about earlier, but when you can do 41K with 10 buttons and they're going through a complex rotation, I feel like they should have a way higher bench.
They are. Let's see. I guess they're just about tied with the other power builds on that list. What does it do in terms of utility on that build in power?
You can do quickness.
You can, right? But what? But if you don't,
that does lower your damage to like 34, 35.
34. Yeah.
34. Yeah.
I mean it does give some might, some quickness, and resolution.
Even in the DPS build, right?
Even in the DPS, I mean, it's not a lot, but it does. I think that's really it. I don't play it. Obviously, I would need to talk to. Unfortunately, I'm speaking in ignorance here. I have always refused to learn. Since Core Elementalist, that was the only one I learned. I've refused to learn all the other ones.
Core Elementalist? What even was that?
That was Lava Font, dude. Lava Font and Ice.
But that that was before raids. Period.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call that learning.
Okay, well, you're okay. You. I'm done talking to you.
Sorry.
No, I mean, I think these are awesome, and I always get blown away when a Weaver or a Catalyst comes in and does insane damage. I just don't want to learn them because, like,
down DPS.
I don't know. I'm already breaking my fingers with Kandi NG. I don't want to break them anymore with.
Kandi NG will do it. Did you ever learn Kandi Core?
No,
Did you ever pick that up?
I spent a little time working on that. Yeah, no, but I'm doing the hard version of the one now and the Kandi Mechanist, which is basically
J Dynamo.
Almost it's easier, but it's not. It's still a piano playing adventure.
As you're throwing out the that's Boondock Saints, right? There was a firefight. That's Willem Dafoe in Boondock Saints. If you guys haven't seen that, so good, classic.
So the Catalyst is my next thing with Catalyst, because I think, like, everybody seems to like it. I think that it should do more damage. I think I'm fine being in the minority with that one.
Where would you want it though?
I mean, I don't know, 40K, 41K. Seriously,
I would want it up to like 43K. I mean,
as a small hitbox power build, you wanted it 42K. Really?
Yeah, it should not be that high.
No way. That's way too much.
I wanted it 40K to reward the difficulty. I want people to be able to blow my socks off and not be like 500 ahead of me.
Which is close to what it's at, right? We're at 30. We're at 39.2. So
this might be perfect. This might be good. I acknowledge that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, from where we were talking last week, it landed 90% of what everybody wanted, right? Like, not only is it better DPS, which it gained 5K ish DPS, and also has been more enjoyable for everyone to play. Like, the mechanical changes, it obviously got a ton of attention after this patch. Felt like most Catalyst players are pretty happy.
I once again bring up, your 41K on an way easier class.
I don't have 41K. Mine is 38K.
And on a way easier class.
38K.
Way easier class.
Well,
it should be way higher than it is. It should be easy 42, 43K.
On a small hitbox power, I still think that's extreme. I still think that's extreme.
I do think that would be a little extreme. I think it's a slippery slope, though, because what's either going to happen if ArenaNet listens to anything we've said here, they're either going to buff everything that's bad to nerf everything to oblivion.
Everything should be nerfed, like I said. Everything should go down in DPS. What used to be 34K is now 41K. I mean, it's just insane.
It's all going to go down, though. Like, we're talking benches that are still using spirits, still using allies, mind you, still using, like banners. Like, all this is going to drop.
So which is good.
I don't want to spend time long on this. I just want to say the other thing that bothers me about Catalyst is I still didn't like ArenaNet's approach to this. We talked about this the last podcast, so we won't rehash it. Yes. But I if anybody's curious, go watch the last one and comment in the Discord about whether you think ArenaNet's approach to this was
comment in YouTube down below in the comment section and tell me that I was right.
Yes, we will. If you guys comment in the comment section YouTube, we will start reading those. We will start.
I always read them. That we will do. Yeah,
live one. Yeah.
Live.
I'll
pull it up and show your comment on stream.
Yes. The last thing with Catalyst, and I don't just mean this with Catalyst. I know we want to talk about like all of the core, or not the core, but the other specializations in general. But I do feel like this is a big issue with Ellie. This is really something that bothers me because all the Ellies are crying in the corner. Specifically, the supports. Are any of the supports viable at this point for Elementalist? I think they're all not.
No,
I don't think so.
No, and they should be. Tempest needs a home, guys. Make it Tempest. They need the home. They need a home. Make him a good support. Give them an essential boon. Right? We know what this means now. No, seriously, like they. Yeah. If ArenaNet has shown anything, it's an awareness now that they know what allows a class to be brought or not. And it's the essential boon. They must have quickness or alacrity. It's defined that way, especially now that they're going out of their way to remove banners and spotter and spirits, etc. When you get rid of those things, we're making determinations on support based on solely can you heal and provide an essential boon. Quickness or alacrity, right? So I really believe that, yes, Empress says Tempest is the best Ellie spec IMO PvP.
PvP.
And we're not talking about PvP, but I still believe that Empress is right. I love Tempest. I adore that build, that class. I'm so sad that it does not have real inclusion in raids. Don't tell me that it's a viable DPS build. It is a meme. At the highest point, is it a meme? Power, Tempest. Talk about a build that you have to work your absolute butt off to get mediocre numbers. And it's only largest of hitboxes. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything. And then Condi that's the ultimate meme. If you're going to give it anything, it needs to be a support build, especially since Weaver and Catalyst have proven really good DPS positions now. Give us the Tempest support build.
And I mean, go ahead, Bars.
I was going to say, talking support, and talking like how unviable some of this is. Real quick, circling back to Rev, because I know this is your baby, Cryptic.
Cryptic.
So with like the change to Revenant and the ability to give alacrity in RR or Condi RR, now you have to take like full, if you want to play the full DPS variant to the best of your abilities, you need all ritualists, and then you need like almost all +5 infusions for concentration to upkeep alacrity while still having the good runes. Or you can go the budget build, which will take you concentration runes and a different food, but you lose like a bunch of DPS. What's your take on that? Because I feel like they should find a way to increase the alacrity given without taking away too much DPS. Otherwise, it's almost an impossible build to build. Like, you're going to spend a good amount of gold to build it. And I mean, if that's people's prerogative, then for it.
I don't really care about the money investment. What's the bench for it? That's the only thing.
The bench is 30
for what?
35K
for which one?
For Condi RR. It's like 35K.
Is that with allies or without?
I think that's without allies. However, if you take the budget build, it's down to like 31K, and you'd rather just take a Condi.
Wait, condition alacrity allies or power alacrity? Condition alacrity allies.
The new RR build.
RR.
Yeah, because the old RR build doesn't work. It doesn't provide enough alacrity.
Does that even have a benchmark on the benchmark page? I didn't see it.
It does have a bench. I'm not sure if it's on that page.
It's not on the page.
I know in our spreadsheet it's around like 36 somewhere, 35 I want to say.
So I think that's fine.
That's high.
That is
for alacrity.
High.
That's high.
The thing that I'm concerned about is
that's high, guys.
Is again
it's pure DPS numbers.
The role of DPS and basically turning every single person in the raid into a support.
No.
Or hybrid.
You know, yeah. Well, I mean, a hybrid is a support. I mean, in this case, it's not, because if it is really doing that much damage,
I was going to say 36k is the DPS build.
the thing that I will say though is 38.
38 for the Condi Renegade build, yeah.
No, for the RR, I mean.
Oh, for the RR? No, yeah. That's like 35. It's lower.
Yeah. So the thing that I'm saying though is that, remember, Renegade damage does not, it's not consistent like everything else that we're seeing.
No, it's not.
So it's, that 35 is not going to be as amazing as it sounds. That being said, I think that's fine. That's not really going to be a number that you can compete with, but it's not going to be something that you're going to feel bad about playing as a DPS, as a hybrid player. I'm just concerned with all of these benches going to 30k on these hybrid classes or worse. And then basically everyone in the raid being a support except for like 2 or 3 people. What was
the catalyst that provided quickness benchmark before
36.
patch? 36. So this is exactly the same thing.
Wait,
we're talking about.
Though?
I don't know. I guess he's 36 because it didn't change.
No, before.
Oh, you mean yeah. Well, no, and that's my point, right? Like now it feels like the argument is exactly the same. The entirety of ArenaNet's nerf and the speed at which it was nerfing it was that it was taking an essential boon role in a group that is capable of being given by a ton of classes. They're trying for a variety. They felt like it was way too much DPS while giving that boon, so it needed to be nerfed. But that's the same number with the same boon uptime, right? With the I guess with RR you're hybridizing it, right? Because you have to have two RRs to do. That wasn't my question.
My question was, do you care enough about the build really to spend the gold? Because to play the high DPS build, the RR build, you're going to put the gold into it because you have to have +5 infusions of concentration so you can run the right runes. Yeah. Otherwise, you have to run concentration runes, and you're at like 30, 31.
You lose a lot of DPS. Yeah, that's interesting.
I would absolutely do it. It's not only is it worth it because, again, we're talking about minimalizing damage and making them more supports. Basically,
what's up,
you could argue that 6 supports is running 6 supports in a raid is going to be a good comp when spirits and banners change, right? Like, I don't think that's what it's going to be, but I could construct that argument for you. And we're going to need classes, I'm totally fine with that. It sucks for people that aren't going to have access to that, that don't have the gold to do that. But this is Guild Wars 2, guys. Come on. Like, this isn't, go farm some gold. It's not going to be the end of the world.
For the infusions? Well, because that's like, what is it? It's like how many magnetite shards per infusion?
Well, it's gold as well with the magnetite.
I know, and it's 200 and something gold, 250 gold or something for a full set of 18 infusions. That's expensive. It's very expensive.
Yeah. Plus, if you're going to pay for like stat swaps, because you have to get ritualist gear, or you can go farm it.
I have legendary gear.
Like I'm in the same boat right now because of Condi Virtuoso. Condi Virtuoso requires 18 precise infusions if you want to run the optimized build. Otherwise, you need to make drastic changes. So it's weird to have that kind of gate on something, money and magnetite shards like that.
It's weird, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think we've drifted far enough down that rabbit hole for it to be an issue yet. Yeah. Maybe we will at some point, where every build has these weird infusion requirements and weird food requirements, and need one piece of this gear, one piece of that, and it just gets out of control. But
we're going to see a lot more of that with the change to the stuff coming up pretty soon, especially in terms of crit.
I would rather readdress it when that happens, and than trying to figure it out now. To me, it's just too up in the air, and I'm totally fine with paying the gold for. There's not many things that sink gold into this game. Like I'm fine paying the gold to actually.
I'll tell you right now, I actually do plan on buying the 18 precise infusions, because either I'm going to use it right now on this Condi Virtuoso, or I'm going to need it for something in the future. Like that's actually a relatively decent investment for me. The only thing that's weird about that is the Rampagers gear. That's weird to be collecting Ascended Rampagers gear
or whatever.
Yeah, man, you need like tons of that stuff to alt that in, depending on what kind of boons you have in the group. It's weird. It's weird.
So I guess we can wrap up with Catalyst as we all agree that Elementalists as a whole should have viable support builds, especially Tempest.
Yeah, Tempest.
It really sucks to me that they intentionally made a change to Tempest to give it on that trait to make it 10-man, which suddenly they knew that that change was what was going to make it viable.
Yeah,
and it did
that's
make
true.
It viable. And then
they took it away.
Like a month later, they were like, we know this is exactly what made this viable. It's gone. Goodbye.
I understand a lot of the 5-man, 10-man stuff, but I feel like Tempest got wrapped up in that when it shouldn't have been, because it needed that. I feel like even then we were still having conversations about its viability. So like we should be helping Tempest a lot, not nerfing
we'll
it.
move on to Spectre. I don't play Spectre. I don't know much about Spectre. It should be nerfed. I think that's what I'm hearing from people. It does too much damage.
I know the
what
one
is it, 40.8? I think with allies.
45k.
Extremely strong in PvP as well. Not to sidetrack us, but like
wait, it's 40.8 on Snowcrows.
With allies and everything, it's 45k.
With allies, it's 40.8.
Is that viable? In raids?
No,
actually,
no, it's impossible to do. The rotation, you're not going to get it.
Okay.
That's a picture perfect rotation.
Wait, where's 45? I've not seen 45.
I can. It's part of the other spreadsheet I sent you. There's logs and stuff on that spreadsheet. Oh, but a lot of that stuff on that spreadsheet is not public knowledge, though. So that's our raid comp builds.
Empress says is Snowcrows the best site for raid builds and benchmarks. Yes, that is collectively where everybody goes for raid builds and benchmarks. It is the definitive location because it's a guild, first of all, Snowcrows that hosts this, but they will showcase whoever has the best benchmark. So even if it's not them, in fact, one would say that the vast majority of the benchmarks now are made by CND, not Snowcrows. And so they just host all of whatever the best log is, and they'll take their video and their information. So yes, Snowcrows is the place to go. Meta Battle exists for raids just like it does for PvP and World v World, but those builds are not like peer filtered, or I guess they're only peer reviewed. They're not like community accepted. It's sort of a weird thing.
If you enjoy reading, I send people to Lucky Noobs because Lucky Noobs has a lot of reading material, specific kind of thing on what to do. They also have the videos, the build, and everything else. But they have a lot of reading material if you want to do that. But no, Spectre's overpowered. However, the ability to give boons in Spectre is weird. I've seen a lot of Alac Spectres, but none of them can really upkeep full alacrity, if that makes any sense. With most of it being well-based, I think so. A lot of them have got the grasp of how to give boons, and it's kind of the same thing with the Chrono thing that me and Merritt go back and forth with sometimes.
What about Chrono?
The well-based alacrity and stuff.
I hate it. I don't like getting boons from Chrono, especially alacrity.
It's the same thing with Spectre, because Spectre's a lot of it is well-based. And,
yeah.
So I haven't seen any Spectres really with 100% alacrity, barring like one or two, and I'm pretty sure they had help from other people in the squad.
Sorry, I was just gonna say. So I mean, I think for me, I'm ignorant about Spectre. I haven't played it. I haven't seen it. From the consensus that I've seen, it seems like people want it nerfed and some quality of life stuff in PvE. I know in PvP people definitely want it nerfed. I mean, I think people were saying that they would take like as many Spectres as they could if they had enough Spectre mains in PvP.
I'd believe that in PvP.
I think they should rework the way that it gives boons. I think the DPS variant is an outrageous number and it's really hard to get. So I mean, if people can get it, then by all means.
I was gonna say anecdotally, I have not seen any. Any of these Spectres walk in and just embarrass everybody. Like just my own rating. I haven't been hearing for the big cheer to nerf this build, and I haven't heard that, and I have not seen Spectres come in and dominate. They're not overly popular, and they're not doing those kinds of numbers anytime I group with them. So I don't agree that they should be nerfed. I don't know what's going on with them really. I haven't played it. I built it and I brought it into the SFTA, but I haven't brought it into raids.
Yeah, I haven't seen any like you said, I haven't seen any specters come in and do anything crazy. And I think the thing for me is consistency. Like, if they aren't consistently able to do that damage, I mean, we've seen weird benchmarks surface around before, right? Like we always see weird benchmarks, and I'm not saying anyone's doing anything they shouldn't be doing, except maybe with Untamed. I'm not saying anybody's doing anything they shouldn't be doing.
What do you mean?
But Eric, you remember that Renegade benchmark that was like 45K or something on MO? That had two people dying
sus
right at the beginning.
At the very beginning,
one of them was a GG, and one of the people that died we know is an extremely good high-level raider, like as good as you can be. It was extremely sus. Everything about that log was sus.
Weird. Yeah,
we've seen logs like that before, where people have figured out how to get a great number, and they create the situation to make it happen artificially. And then they put that log out there and don't say anything. And they're like, "Oh, look at this number," and it just sits there for a while. So I think from what I heard or from what I've gathered with Spectre, from my ignorant opinion, I think we're all on the same page. Let's just let it sit. I mean,
and see what happens.
It needs to be nerfed, but let's just let it sit in PvE and maybe make it the wells a little better, because.
Oh yeah, well-based editing is kind of tough. Nobody likes it. Ukan says, I do like how comfy Spectre is, almost like raiding on core necro, but it actually doing reasonable damage. That's fascinating to me. That comparison is really interesting. I'm gonna try to take a look at it. Looking at the rotation, it looks like it's got a real rotation. Just looking at it on paper. So I'm fascinated. Oddly enough, though, when you look at it, it looks like any other Condi Thief build, right? It's got 2 Venoms, it's got a Trap, and it's got Thieves Guild. It's even taking Hide in Shadows. Like it's such a regular Condi Thief build. So I don't know how this pans out. Obviously, it has a stance, so it's clearly very different. But now that we've talked about it, I'm going to take a look. Next time we have a podcast, I'll have more information about this.
So we talked about Virtuoso before when we were talking about overpowered things.
Yeah.
We can touch on it briefly. Everybody agrees this should be nerfed, right? Like this is too easy, too much damage. It's all ranged.
Well, again, being unrealistic, right? Because if you have the number is an optimized gear with optimized stats, which is taking Writs, Rampager's gear, Sinister gear, and 18 precise infusion. I mean, it's ridiculous. The demands that this class has. It's the neediest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm trying to build it, but the budget version, and then I think CAG sent me like a different alternate version, which was practically entirely Rampagers. It had like one piece that was Vipers, and everything else was Rampagers. It is obviously very strong. The rotation is streamlined. It feels good. It's quick. There's lots of shatters. I think you take the trait that there's 2 shatters for F1 and then F2.
Sorry to interrupt you, but is there still a complex rotation that does like all the crazy stuff that P Chrono did, or is that not a thing anymore? I remember people talking about that initially.
Yeah, I mean, there's no continuous split to vie with, but it does take the double shatter in F1. It uses F2 and it uses F3, and so like the amount, so you're doing 4 shatters effectively, and you'll still have blades to spare. I mean, it's very crazy. In fact, that's part of what makes it sort of forgiving. It's not as clone perfect, like count to this clone, etc. Like there's an overflow of clones. You even take the generate a clone signet just to generate one every few seconds kind of thing. In fact, it's all signets except for the elite skill, and then it has a very P Chrono-esque loop that is very comfy. I would say that overall the build is very fun, satisfying, easy to play. It is 100% ranged, which is incredibly potent. Yeah. And in it probably, like, if you were to tell me full Vipers, crate runes, and malicious infusions, I would say, and like cured meat flatbread or whatever, I would say it's definitely needed to be nerfed. Right now, the numbers that we're seeing are inflated and completely unrealistic. No way or how are you going to get those kinds of numbers in any group, because you have to make all those swaps. You're not going to get spotter and banner. So it's probably notably less. Do I think it needs to be nerfed? Maybe, but maybe by 1,000. I don't think it's like Omega OP.
Yeah, I think Vindicator, or not Vindicator, sorry, wrong one. Virtuoso.
The other V1.
The other V1. Two things, though. I think Virtuoso is really fun. I think it's pretty okay where it's at. Both the Condi, the Condi build people were saying is overpowered.
It's much better than Power. You shouldn't be playing Power if you ask me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like both of them are good. Both of them are fun.
Both are fun. In fact, they're the same. They're the same weapons, the same loop. It's really weird.
And I stand corrected on Spectre. It's 41k bench now with some of the changes that were made. So there's a 41k bench on Spectre. But no, as far as Virtuoso goes,
thank you, NG.
I think it's okay where it's at. I haven't heard anybody call to like nerf it or anything like that. I think it's a pretty fun class, and I think everybody can benefit from learning it. It's one of the easier ones, in my opinion.
I think so too, actually. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm on the same page as this as with all the other ones. If it's a streamlined rotation, it shouldn't be top, and it is basically top right now, right? I mean, it's pretty.
It has the top small hitbox benchmark. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's very strong.
Streamlined rotation shouldn't be top. We need to give people something to work towards and not something that they can learn in 30 minutes.
Well, I wouldn't put this in the same in terms of streamlined rotation as like the Condi mech that you don't like. This is probably more than that, but it's still
a little too strong.
Maybe a little bit. Like I said, if you take into consideration the neediness of the build and the unrealisticness of the stats, I think you'll end up still being very strong, but maybe 1,000. It's not like a high priority kind of change.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Harbinger. I am also ignorant about this one.
It is overpowered. I'll give you that.
Emphatically.
That is a 41k bench, right?
Yes, it is.
As a Condi, as just the Condi damage, it is a 36k bench as a quickness source. Now, I will say that I don't agree with Snowcrow's build on it, because Snowcrow's tells everybody to take 20% boon duration, but that is
for the quickness variant.
For the quickness variant, but that is 100% alacrity. You have to have 100% alacrity to be able to maintain that quickness with 20% BD. So realistically, your number is going to be around like 33k, but you should take like 30% boon duration. I have been suggesting everybody to take 30% boon duration, because
so it takes right now what 3 pieces of ritualists to get.
It takes 2 pieces of ritualist gear.
It has 3 now. Maybe it changed.
Maybe it changed, but it also needs a Jade Bot Core 10. So you have to have that. Because your vitality.
Yeah.
Your vitality goes into your concentration.
The conversion to concentration.
Yes.
Wow, I forgot about that. So you actually need it on that build. How funny.
Yeah. It is absolutely
I don't have them
needed.
on any of my builds.
Wow.
But
I have like one.
I would. Yeah, it is 33k bench.
It's a lot of HP.
But it is a lot of HP. You do lose a lot of it with blight or bio or whatever the hell it's called.
So is the support one okay? Is everybody okay with the support variation of it?
I think that
33k quickness. That feels good. That feels good to me.
On par with the right boon duration. If you take less boon duration, if you take the 20%, you can squeeze out more damage. But I don't suggest it. I really don't suggest it. Even in our organized group, I take 30% boon duration, because alacrity is not guaranteed.
So
Scrapper needs to be buffed.
Scrapper should be buffed. Yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
I was just looking at it, right? Because like condition quickness for Condi Firebrand is 33k. Condi quickness for Harbinger 33k. Condition alacrity staff, right? Another hybrid, around 31k. But you drop all the way down to 28k when you're dealing with power quickness on what do you call it? Which is not. I mean, even Chrono, I guess, is what 28k. So that's interesting that these things are down so low. You may want to like streamline those together.
I think so. The Scrapper rotation is fairly simple. I mean, it's not overly simple, but it's pretty basic.
Azure, are you saying that you think that it should be lower, by the way? 33 quickness benchmark for Harbinger, too high? Too high, you think? For like a hybrid class, maybe?
Maybe it could be touched down like by 1k, because what's Quick Brand? 32k?
33.
33? Yeah, see, it's on par with Quick Brand.
You think they should both be moved down to the where the Scrapper is, or should Scrapper and Chrono be moved up?
I think Scrapper should come up. Chrono has a lot of utility, and it's kind of rough if you're getting used to continuous split. So I feel like that one should probably.
Oh, Azure, I see.
So I mean, it sounds like we're all good with the support.
Harbinger.
Though. Yeah,
Yeah, the Harbinger support is good.
Well, as far as the DPS, I'm looking at the rotation here. It doesn't. I haven't played it. I guess my first question is, can you kill yourself?
No. Yes, you can.
Can you actually kill yourself?
You can kill yourself. Blood is power.
Wow.
And big lands will F you up, man.
Okay.
It will hurt you.
Wow.
Okay. So the rotation does look simple, but if you can kill yourself, that's a pretty big risk. If you take a hit and then you're just doing your rotation and the next skill is blood is power, dead.
You really think that looks simple? That's not that simple.
Oh no. Okay, let me tell you real quick, guys. It is not complicated.
It's an opening, a shroud loop, a pistol loop, and a scepter loop.
There's no freaking loop. All right, there's no loop. You guys are
okay.
That thing. It is literally all your pots off cooldown. Shroud 1. 1, 4, 3, and then just keep repeating that. And then once you get out of shroud, everything off of cooldown, like everything.
So it's kind of scourgy, just play whack-a-mole with your skills and.
Okay, hold on, Mr. Reaper. It is very Reaper. It is so Reaper.
Well, but you can't just push buttons randomly on Reaper, right? It's more of a Dragon Hunter rotation. No, you have to sort of ramp things up.
What do you mean? You put down your wells off of Reaper on cooldown every time you.
But that starts a chain reaction. Like with Scourge, there's no rhyme or reason. You do hit all the buttons, but they can be hit in whatever order. It doesn't really matter.
And but the triggering like your pots to go back into shroud and count your barbs out.
Sizon says, "Smash my face on keyboard." Got it.
Yeah, so like you do count it with barbs. You do count your shroud with
soul barbs. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like there's a blight component consuming blight as well, but I mean, it doesn't seem complicated. So
it's not hard. Like it's a very, very. I picked it up in like 20 minutes. Like not even that.
So where should this fall? Where do you guys think this should fall?
I think it should drop down.
You could kill yourself. I mean, I don't think doesn't seem like a realistic risk. It's based off what Azure's saying. But I mean, if that's a possibility, that's some risk, right? I can't.
You look tanky, 27k HP, but you have 18k HP most of the time. But 18k is still very high HP. That's a very comfy place.
I'm not really concerned about that part. Is fine. The 18k is fine. That's perfectly fine. What I'm saying is that. Like with blood is power, since that's not a max percentage based HP take, it could just kill you if you're low enough. If you take a big hit and then I don't know. And so the only other class I'm worried about killing myself on is ECSU Hollowsmith. If you overheat, you could straight up kill yourself.
You can, you burn a bit.
Applying blight to yourself and then like going blood is power, plague lance, and go back in the shroud. You are at a risk for a little bit. It's kind of iffy. And if you get hit by something, you'll probably go down. Because with all the blight stacked, you stack 25 stacks of blight, I think it is, 25, or you stack the full stacks of blight that you can. So your HP is really low. Like your HP is so low from stacking all the blight.
Does it have good accessible CC?
No, Oddnob here just said that in chat. He said it has no utility besides CC though compared to Firebrand. So like, I guess it does have some. What do you use for that?
Shroud 5 is a CC pistol.
Is any of that part of the rotation?
Yes, it's all part of the rotation.
That's the big question then, right?
Shroud 5 is not part of the rotation.
Okay. I mean, if you have a couple that aren't part of the rotation, then it's good utility. But if not, then it doesn't matter. If it's part of your rotation, it's unreliable. So.
Yeah. It's kind of like Condiar, like we have rotation there, but we have CC, but it's not part.
But you don't want to use it.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can't.
No, I'm the same. I'm the same for Vindicator. You can, of course, right? Like you can go staff, you can hit smash.
No. So, but RR, you actually can't. We have to correct. People need to understand that. Condi Revenant and Condi RR Revenant. Just because we have CCs, we actually physically cannot use them most of the time. First off, they're part of our rotation. The good ones are part of our rotation. That aside, the ones that aren't part of our rotation, and even the ones that are part of rotation, they all take lots of energy. And you are based. Your rotation is a rhythm-based rotation. You are constantly draining energy. You cannot plan that around the boss having. You can save. You can stop doing damage and save, and then have energy. But you're in a rhythm. You're all about a flow, and you want to continue that flow. So,
but you can swap to staff and hit staff 5, right?
No, you don't have staff.
RR.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. You're right. You have an alt weapon.
So there's just no way.
Jade wins.
No,
we don't have Jade wins.
You also wouldn't have the energy to do that anyway. That's like 50 energy.
I know. I'm just getting into this now because I've never played Revenant of any kind except for now.
Condi Revenant.
No, I'm not gonna do it. But Vindicator, like I see what you mean. Like sometimes it's a huge pain, but I'll swap legends to get the energy and then I'll spend it if I need to.
No. So Vindicator, it's possible. Just like with Alacrigate, right? It's possible. You have good, and you should do that if you have access to it. You know, if it lines, you know, if it works out. With Condi Renegade and Condi RR, it's actually just impossible sometimes. Like I'd say at least 50 to 60% of the time, it is just impossible, and expecting the Renegade to do that is either trashing their damage or just not understanding how the class works. Like those are the only two choices there.
Can I just say real quick, since we were on Harbinger, I feel like all classes should do boons the way that Harbinger does. Like literally, you provide boons by doing your rotation. That is how you provide quickness. You do your rotation. There's nothing different from the DPS rotation. Well, yeah, the DPS rotation and the quickness rotation is zero difference. You do the same rotation. You just trade out two different things. You take traits, and the rotation's the same, but you give quickness.
So to wrap up Harbinger, though, where do you guys think it should fall? Like, I mean, everyone thinks it should be lower, but I mean, how much lower? I don't know.
I would take it down from 41 to 40k. I think 40k should be a pretty decent bench for the DPS.
So that's another pretty close to what it's already is, right? And I love the idea of a build that makes it so you can kill yourself, or that you're giving up survivability for DPS on purpose. Like that was very attractive to me. Even just like what is it? Berserker. When you take Berserker, you lose 700 toughness or whatever it is. Like I like that idea. The role-playing sense of that makes a lot of sense to me, and I think you should be rewarded for being super squishy and being able to do good damage. Again, I'll have to look at the rotation. It looks like it's a lot more than we were giving it credit for, but I'll take a look at it. I still think 41k. It's hard for me to answer these questions because I think 41k is high for anything. I don't think anything should be 41k.
So like I said, I bear this in mind with the fact that we're gonna lose everything later. So everything's gonna drop down like a good 3k.
3k. Yeah, I was thinking about 3k. Yeah.
So I haven't played this myself, so I don't know, but I honestly think you guys may be overvaluing the. I mean, like I said, if it's a real trade-off, if you're dying is really
I don't know.
then it should be 40k. But if it's not, I think in an actual raid, it's just not going to be a thing. Like you're just not actually going to be worried about it. And it should, if that's the case, if you're not actually worried about it, like for example, Hollowsmith, like it's possible that I can kill myself. I'm not really worried about it though. So I think it's fine where it is. And in this case, if I'm not worried about it on Harbinger, then it should be, you know, it should be like 39k or something, like maybe 38.
So, I will say,
or go with what NG said and bring it down to 30k with every other DPS.
Well, hold on. NG just doesn't like anything but NG's being high.
I'm with you, NG. I would love some sort of like super hardcore month. Force everyone down to 30k for a month. See if we can all remember how to do raids. It'd be so much fun.
I bet you lose every bit of players that you have now doing raids.
All right, guys, we're going to set up in the MTV community. We're going to set up a full clear in like blue gear and see what the numbers would be. Let's do it.
Harbinger, I will kill myself. When we do our statics, I'll probably die like twice or 3 times. Not full dead. I'll have to be rezzed a few times because of blight.
Okay.
Yeah.
And me being so low to going into a mechanic or something.
Yeah. See, to compare it to Hollowsmith again, like, you know, you can die, like you can kill yourself with ECSU, and the benefit there is like a 500k, you know, a couple hundred, that's not 500k, a couple hundred, you know, 500, 400 DPS increase. And obviously the DPS is applied differently, so it works better for different fights. But that's the benefit there. And the trade-off is that it's not really a risk in raids. If you know the rotation and you're good at it, the risk of killing yourself isn't that. It's actually the bigger risk is that you lose DPS. You know, killing yourself isn't that big of
a big risk.
Yeah, that is a big risk, but it's not really that big of a risk. So I think the trade-off is actually fair, and I don't know if that's the case here. It sounds like it's not, but it might be. I don't know. I have to play it. I have to maybe watch you play it more, Virus. So there you go.
Stream on Wednesday. All right, let's go.
Last one, guys.
Go follow the Dr. Virus.
Yes, the green guy. Last one, guys. Will Bender. Nobody plays that, right?
Okay, you know what?
Whoa. Where's Dewey?
If Dewey's in chat, he'll be really offended.
Knight also plays it. I've seen Knight play Willbender, and also Kag. Kag is also playing Willbender. So we have a few friends who play it occasionally.
So I just seen Willbender. I don't have that much experience. I played it. Condi Willbender is at 41K on the benchmark.
Yeah, strong, right? It's like really several Willbender options too. Condi 40.2, Power 40.1. My only complaint is that they're so very much like previous Guardian iterations. The skills and the weapons, it just looks identical, man. I just can't. It doesn't feel new enough for me to get into it. Does that make sense?
I know a lot of people that really enjoy it, and I know a lot of people that are like, it's kind of the same as before, and new skill skins is pretty much what they summed it up to. I have no feelings about it. I haven't played it enough. I barely touched the class at all. But I know a bunch of people in our community have played it, and I have seen it in raids. I don't know where Cryptic's been at, because we have definitely had a few in our raids. Yeah,
we have. People play it. It's I wouldn't say
a few, but
I see the same amount of them as I see Vindicator or even Spectre. I'm not seeing a lot more Spectres. I saw a ton. I saw more Spectres and more Harbingers right when EoD came out. They seem to be falling off as well. I'm oddly enough, dude, like for a game that just came out with 9 new elite specs, I don't see as many new elite specs as I expected I would. Is that weird? Have you guys been seeing that same thing? I still see a lot of the previous builds floating around.
I see a lot of previous builds, and I mean, we've kind of seen that with a lot of the past patches. Like, you find something that's good and you just roll with it, whether it's new or not. I mean,
wow, we've gone.
It's not rather, it's new and shiny, so I'm going to play it. I think people are just kind of on the, this is good, I'm going to play it and let's get it done with kind of deal.
Azure says, April Fool's patch notes, Willbender will stay special because with the End of Dragons users of the Dragon Hunter specialization have been retired. Selecting Dragon Hunter will now unlock a relaxing new set of skills, allowing the player to immerse themselves into a life as a retiree because there are no dragons to hunt anymore. That is amazing.
What Azure doesn't realize, this expansion is called Guild Wars 2 Endless Dragons, and they will
Endless Dragons. Oh no, we all become dragons ourselves.
So I think we need more experience with Willbender. Just looking at it, quickly here. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's significantly out of line. I will say that the power one looks fine. The Condi one looks like it is a simpler version of Firebrand. And again, here we go with more simplification of things that do more damage than their more complicated counterparts. But
and that's something we talked about earlier. Is like that just seems to be the direction it's going. Whether we like it or not, it seems to be the direction it's going. And I'm with you, Cryptic. I feel like you should be rewarded for playing harder. For roles,
Yes, you should be rewarded. Cryptic should be rewarded for.
Thank you.
Yeah, all of us should be punished. Donate to Cryptic Studios. Wrong game, man. Wrong game. Well. Cryptic Studios makes a lot of games, not Guild Wars 2.
So that's pretty much it with the elite specializations. We should probably do something like this on the specializations as a whole, like where we feel things should be moved around and. How we feeling about different ones. I mean, I don't know. I could talk about Hollowsmith forever.
What's a Hollowsmith? Just play Mechanist.
Oh my god. You used to play a lot of Hollow.
I love Hollowsmith. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Hollow. I used to say the same things about Hollow that I was saying about Mech. Right? That it's very strong, very viable. There's like 4 different ways you can play it based on what you want. That to me is considered really good balance. I just really like that.
I mean, if there's anything you should take away from all this discussion, is that, especially considering Mechanist didn't get nerfed in this last patch, is that if you have not picked up a class for raids for any kind of PvE endgame right now, you should pick Engineer and learn those different builds, because you will have a spot in every group doing something, whether it's a support, whether it is a DPS power, or whether it is a Condi damage, you will have, or a hybrid. It has something that is viable for all of those and is good for all of those, not
not even mediocre, just really good.
Yeah, you can find something in every spot.
That's the Condi Core NG, Condi Scrapper, Hammer Scrapper, Hybrid Quickness Scrapper, Heal Scrapper, Power Mech, Condi Mechs, other Condi Mech, Support Mech, Hybrid Mech. Hollow-Smith, it's just insane. You can just play one character, get some legendary armor, and rock every role in the game. That's why you've probably seen it, the 10 engineer raids that are going around. I've seen a bunch of them. Like, you can easily do 10, and not even like crappily. Like, that's a solid group right now. You could have a very strong engineer group from top to bottom.
We've actually done a couple of those, and it's ridiculous how well it works. Actually,
yeah, dude.
Like it's really, really crazy.
Because it's not a meme, and none of those choices are memes. None of them. They're all strong.
So. Oh yeah, I mean, you got Quick Scrapper. You know, like you were just rambling them off a second ago. You got different variants of Mechanist. You know, hollows, all kinds of stuff. It's really
so many.
Has come to.
So, I know we were going to talk about the future of PvE. I don't know if that's.
We could push that to the next podcast.
What do you mean? We're only 3 hours in. Jeez. Azure says, when are we going to do a 10 Vindicator run, Merrick? Boy, could you imagine 10 Vindicators leaping up in the air at the same time? Do you know, so if you don't know, Vindicators can take a trait that makes their landing impact bigger and it heals. So you like leap onto people to support them. Or leap onto enemies and kill them. I think it could be fun. I think it could be fun to do that.
Can I suggest that we do a 10 Revenant run and just take 2 heal Alack revs?
Yes.
And then everybody else Vindicator, because Vindicators give themselves quickness. So you should be able to maintain yourself. Yeah, you can give yourself a lot of quickness.
You can, yeah.
And just have alacrity and quickness, and that's it.
Dude, let's do this, man. Let's start doing some of these memes. Let's do. We'll start with NG because that's probably the most viable. We could probably do Mesmer would be easy. That'd be the next one, right? Let's start doing some of these. We'll start setting them up in the Discord. Let's have like a meme raid day every week. Down. That'd be super fun.
I think a lot of the community could have fun with that too, because they can of each class going into raids like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to stop. We definitely have some extra things that we could talk about. All of the other elite specs that are still being changed. Just because there's 9 new elite specs doesn't mean that the previous ones aren't getting balanced and still have a very big role to play in modern meta composition.
It might be nice to do a light armor podcast about all of that, and then do a medium armor podcast, and then do a heavy armor podcast.
You mean like, oh, I see, to break them up.
Yes,
are you trying not to have 3-hour podcasts every time?
Yeah,
exactly.
Even Raz has given up on he's walked away.
Dude, he left his cube. I mean, I don't even, where is he, man? Judy, have you seen
like
the
3 hours is too much.
He's come and gone. He's come back again. Yeah, it's all good.
All right.
So I know you want to wrap this up, but I would just like to say, for the future of like PvE and raids, I am looking forward to it. Like that, I'll just end it there. That way.
Do you feel optimistic about the changes coming?
I feel very optimistic, and I feel like
I do too.
There's a lot of good changes happening, and I feel like, I think you talked about this last podcast. Now more than ever, ArenaNet is paying attention to a lot of its audience.
Hallelujah!
So
they've been amazing. ArenaNet, amazing.
I feel like changes we want, like to Bunny Thumper or to Untamed
Bunny Thumper.
Yeah, I feel like those changes will come.
I do too.
I feel like a lot of the stuff that we address will actually be talked around their offices, and they probably listen to a lot of people that we don't realize that they do. So I definitely think it's a good thing.
Don't you feel like not only are they listening, but they're, I mean, like whenever I've read patch notes in the past, right? Like their design for going forward, or like why they're doing what they're doing or whatever, like never before have I felt more than I do right now that they are raiders. That they know what they're talking about. I feel like it sounds like one of us talking when we're talking. Like if I were to write update patch notes, this is what I would say. I'm like, this is what we're changing. This is why we're changing it. This is why it has sucked in various raids. This is why it's been not fun. This is how it's going to be changed to make it more fun. Like, the lingo just feels more convincing. I don't know. I just feel like it's a new ArenaNet. It felt pretty good.
It feels less automated messagey and more like player to player or person to person, and
Yeah,
more.
and it has helped. It's helpful when you're doubtful of the notes, right? When somebody's like, when they're making notes, and you see like, oh, this big change, it really affects me. When you really hear it explained in a way that makes it sound like they are aware of the impact that it is making, right? They're like, they know how it's impacting your game mode, and because they're speaking in that lingo, they're bringing up things that really matter and the reasons why. Somehow, I'd see a nerf that would happen in land, and it would make some sort of really big dramatic crappy change throughout the entire game mode, and you'd wonder like, was that on purpose? Did they know what that was going to do? Like, are you sure that this is how you wanted it to be? And then 3 months later they would change it back, right? And it would always take a while. Like, you have to wait for the quarterly update, but then they would sort of like change the dynamic again. I'm like, I knew you didn't mean it. I knew you didn't mean to do that. That was an accident. Like, now I feel like I just have more trust. I think that's
I mean, we're getting updates like every 2 weeks right now. Like, we're getting patches. That's crazy.
It is insane, especially after a freaking expansion drop, right? Yeah. Which is, they should be so busy. And they are, because half the patches are world polish, 87,000 bug fixed. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing that too, but they're also addressing some of this cool balance stuff. I don't know. If I were to give ArenaNet, like, my review of the expansion was positive, but the review of just sort of ArenaNet going through the expansion process has been positive, which is awesome.
I wholeheartedly agree with you.
I think that ArenaNet is going in the right direction here. We talked about this before. My only concern with PvE at least is that they are actually becoming experts in raiding and not just parroting what they are seeing from others. You can
being told.
Or being told. You can easily pretend to know what you're talking about and not actually have, experience is the best teacher. I want them to actually be experiencing these things and see what's actually happening.
Sure.
And not, just listening to what someone else is
saying.
Catalysts. One person's vision of the game should not direct the entire game. And I don't, I'm not claiming that is what is happening at all. We will see. We will see. With the
cautiously optimistic.
Updates. Yeah. If Spirit and Banner updates are great, then we're great. If they're not, then maybe not.
I still think that it's the right move. So I that's why I'm optimistic. I actually think that the removal of those kinds of things is probably good. I have said, if the goal is to be inclusive of the huge amount of variety that they're basically being confronted with now, there's so many things, and if they want them all to be viable, you got to rip those things away. You know how I feel about boons. I just wish boons didn't just suck all around. But if that is not going to change, this is probably the best way to handle it. So I don't know either if it's going to be good or bad in the end, but I have been given hope. And I like having hope. I like having hope, man, in the realm of the MMO I love the most. That makes a big difference when you're optimistic.
Yes,
it's nice.
It does. I'm hoping for viability in the core classes at some point in the future.
Keep dreaming.
Judy's hoping not to have to split up coffee break ever again.
Poor Judy. Hey, Judy, before we go, what is your favorite elite spec? And if you could have one build changed in some way to make it more raid viable for you, what would it be?
Oh gosh.
On the spot. I'm gonna make you so big.
As you know, I've only really looked at the Mechanist and what are you doing? And the Mesmer. So out of those two, like I said, I would probably, and I said this in the beginning of the podcast, but I would probably bring back the heal toolkit for Mechanist. I think that would fix a bunch of little things. Yeah.
But there's no build that you would like to play that is not currently viable in the raid meta?
Oh, absolutely. I would bring back Core Mesmer.
Core Mesmer. Core Mesmer, like Condy or Power, like Shatter or Clones. Like, what would you do?
Probably Core Mesmer Clones Staff. If that could be viable,
Condy?
I think that would be super fun. Yeah.
So like Staff Mirage, but Core Mesmer?
Right, exactly.
And ones you don't shatter, you just leave it like.
Exactly. Yes.
Wow.
They've been slowly destroying that build since for the last 7 years, and it's gone. It's completely gone now. It's been gone for years.
Don't you kind of feel like Mirage brought it back for like? First of all, they brought it back
a little bit.
They brought it back, and then they nerfed it, or not? Didn't nerf it. They changed it.
Right, exactly. I mean, they brought it back, and I think it's still viable in things like PvP, but nobody would bring it for PvE. Because
you remember the original Mirage Condy build did not have you shatter clones. For those of you guys who weren't around for then, the whole I forgot what it's called. Whenever you gain Mirage Cloak, so do your clones. So they all ambush.
I actually really loved that change, but then they got rid of it. So.
Well, they didn't get rid of it. It's just that now that you're supposed to have them do their thing, and you're supposed to shatter them and instantly resummon them. So the goal is still to keep them up doing that consistently, but you still need to shatter throughout.
You only have one dodge now too. So.
Duh!
Yeah.
Well. Yeah. But only in PvP though. Right.
Is it?
Yeah, it's only in PvP.
I think it's only in PvP.
Yeah. In PvE, you still have 2 dodges.
Okay. It's been
Whew,
a long
that would
time
suck.
since I played Okay.
Because I just walked into PvP on my Mesmer on Clone Lord Merrick the other day, and I was like, "Oh no, I remember now."
Yeah, I played it in PvP. You remember me and you?
Yes. Oh my god. That of all things that I've ever done, that is really high on the list of things that I wish I had recorded that was not recorded. That would have been so good. Amazing. I met Cryptic Villain in a guild where we had a PvP tournament. The first time I ever met him was a 1v1 PvP tournament in our guild. And I walked in going, I have won every one of these before. I'm going to win this one. This is going to be easy. And he was my first opponent. And Cryptic walked in and was like, I am way better than all these casual PvE noobs. I'm going to totally wreck this dude. And we walk up, meet each other, both bow to each other as Mesmers with similar builds. And we had maybe the sweatiest, longest fight that you could ever imagine. And it went... Like it was like a Rocky movie, dude. Like he wrecked me and then wrecked me and then wrecked me. And then it was going to be the final round. And I reverse swept all the way into victory because of like some crazy change. I'm telling you, it was a movie. It was a freaking movie. It was awesome.
Because he pulled out the Merrick TV special, which is pretend to be a clone. And I didn't know how to handle that.
I did. No joke. He totally whooped me. And then all of a sudden I turned on the Clone Lord Merrick mentality. I was like, I'm going to just be a clone. And it worked. It worked. It was great. I wish Empress was still here because she would be like, because I did the same thing. I did the same thing to Empress. Empress, I love you.
I think you did the same thing to everybody there at that
I
point.
did. If you go back and watch that video of the streamer PvP tournament, it is so funny. If you go and watch Teapot's actual, there's Empress.
Yay, Empress.
If you go, I love you so much, Empress. If you go back and watch and listen to Teapot's commentary, it is the funniest part. Like you must listen with his commentary. Don't watch my stream. Go watch his because they're just sitting there making fun of me the whole time. They're like, he's just standing still. What is he doing? He's at a wall. Why is this camera in a wall? He can't even see. He's just staring at the floor. I think he's pretending to be a clone. He's really good at pretending to be an NPC. That is his entire mission here. This is so dumb. And then it ended up, working, I guess.
Very effective.
Empress, let's PvP again soon. I'm gonna call it here. I guess we'll probably end it. I love you guys. Thank you for this very long and very exciting chat. Junie, we will endeavor to make these shorter. Going forward. Thank you guys again for
Marek. You just get to edit this one.
Oh no, please.
That's
the awful punishment. In fact, you have to edit it and edit out the My Little Pony discussion that you guys sprung on me in the middle of this thing.
I'm going to edit that out and make that its very own YouTube video so people don't have to listen to the whole podcast if they just want to see the April Fool's joke. Yeah.
No, it was terrible. No point. You beautiful bastard. Okay, so if you guys are new to the channel, I doubt you are, but if you are, my name is Merrick TV. We stream a lot of Guild Wars 2. We play a lot of other random games throughout, but Guild Wars 2 is definitely our home. I met Cryptic and Virus and Junie, my 3 favorite people in Guild Wars 2. It is a wonderful place to be. If you guys want to come and join our community, we would love to have you. MTV has a guild. All these beautiful people are in it. We host events, training raids, experienced raids. We're doing PvP and guild missions too. We got a guild hall going, and the coolest, best roller beetle racetrack in the guild hall ever. So if you want to come and check that out, we're going to do a race again soon with prizes now that we actually have a new and complete track. So thank you to Mai and Zhang and Virus and everybody else who contributed to that. It
and
is
NJ, who's
awesome.
been like putting so much stuff into the guild bank. Oh my god.
Thank you, can we just build a shrine? Puzzle. Yeah, the jumping puzzle, dude. Yeah. We need to build a shrine to Angie just in general. Angie, you are the man, the best moderator. Really appreciate you, bro. So what's tomorrow? We would normally be doing party games tomorrow in the Discord, but we actually have one of our Ko-Fi subscribers. It's their birthday. We're going to be hosting a big birthday party in Final Fantasy XIV for them. So we may not be around. Judy might be streaming it. I'm not sure, but definitely check us out for this following Monday. We're going to do our raid trainings. The roster will be posted very soon. So if you guys want to join our raid trainings in the MTV Discord, come and click that beautiful link that is linked in the chat there. Join our community. Come hang out. Come raid. It'll be great. There we go. And now I just want to say thank you guys again. I really appreciate all of our Ko-Fi subscribers. Null Point Origin and Maddox, you guys are amazing. Tier 6 subscribers. It is insane. NG, you are such a great dude. I really appreciate your support. Pink Attitude, our newest subscriber. Dalindra Zhang, whose birthday it is tomorrow. Wish him a happy birthday in the Discord. And Andushan, who is an absolute living legend. Love you, bro. Love all of you guys. In fact, have a great night, and we will see you next time. Bye.